Keith, I don't know how to start. Okay.
Let's start with the story.
With the story.
Yeah. We'll do it chronologically.
I was born
later.
Okay.
Later than that. So hi everyone.
Hi,
I'm Keith.
I'm
the
Stephanie.
channel person, and this is Stephanie, the other person.
Yes.
Caterpie Hot Pants.
Oh my god. That sounds bad when you say it out loud.
You've only said it out loud. But as you see in the comments section.
That existed before I knew people would be looking at it, I want to say.
So I had a day where I needed to wait for a package all day. So I was like, you know what? Third Star Wars movie comes out in a couple days. Let's watch the first two Star Wars movies of this trilogy.
This, you gotta differentiate.
7 and 8. People know what I mean. It's 2019, almost 2020.
That's important to the story.
So I was just going to watch 7 and 8 and just, why not? And Stephanie was getting off work around the time I was going to start. So I was like, hey, you want us to watch both of them? Even though you've sworn to never watch the new Star Wars movies all this time.
You have to explain my predisposition to hate them.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell about it. Tell about your refusal to watch any new Star Wars movies until I ruined you this week. This emotional roller coaster.
Okay. So I want to start with a foreword. Just saying, I have an extensive background in Star Wars movies.
You're significantly more of a fan than I am.
I was raised on them. I've seen them all. Well,
too many times?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No joke, at least 20 times a piece. No joke, at least 20 times a piece. That's probably an underestimation.
So they're probably are they your most watched movies? Probably.
Actually, honestly, as it's kind of not really by choice, but yes. When my grandparents watched me, they would always put them on. They were some of their favorite movies.
It was just the default for you.
I was quoting them. I was like, I know the whole thing. I know a lot about them. So I want to say that. I also have a predisposition to dislike George Lucas because he fucked up the Indiana Jones trilogy by allowing Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull to exist. And also because I've had this kind of cynical view of anybody trying to remake or add sequels, or I love movies and people just tromp all over them all the time. So when Disney acquired Star Wars from George Lucas, I was like, of course George Lucas, that fucking sellout, would do this again and allow these to exist. So I refuse to watch any of the new ones.
The next episode for you in this legacy of resentment.
I have a lot of resentment. I just want to start, so basically that's the foreword, is that I have a lot of resentment. I don't trust him. Steven Spielberg's on my list too, but George Lucas is for sure on my list, that guy. So anyways, I was never going to watch these movies ever. I don't believe in them. Disney's evil. They're never going to make anything good out of them. And then Keith
was going to just watch. I was watching them in the living room.
Keith was waiting for a package.
Yeah.
And I have a history of watching movies with Keith.
Yeah.
And so Keith was like, hey.
And so I said, last chance for you to marathon. You're like, meh, if you're watching Star Wars and I get home, I might sit down and look at the screen, but I feel no love in my heart.
I feel he's that is true. I feel no love in my heart. I have no love in my heart.
Oh, text messages.
George Lucas, come fight me.
But despite that, it went surprisingly well. It went all right.
I'm getting all heated already.
Yeah, we got to try to pretend.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we were talking about recording your response to the first two movies before we saw the third one, but schedules didn't work out that way because it's hard if this isn't just the one thing you're doing. It's a lot to schedule, so we ran out of time and had to get to our reserved seating because that's the only way to watch these movies.
I was really hungry. I'd eat my one meal of the day. I'd eat some spaghetti. So I'm sorry, you guys.
So now we're trying to piece together this. So I want to hear your thoughts on the first two movies, in part because, one, you just saw them now.
Yeah.
As opposed to the years ago when they each came out, 2 and 4 years ago. But also, you were so cut off from the discourse surrounding these movies full spoilers, by the way, for the entire trilogy. Reviewing these for the purpose of like, should I watch it, is fucking pointless for Star Wars. So this is just a discussion about, for assuming people know these movies already. So behave accordingly. So full spoilers. You didn't know that Han Solo dies in the first movie.
No, I did not know that.
That's how like cut off she's been. So I'm super curious what she has to say about these movies.
So yeah, we were watching these movies, and Keith was like, because he thought I would know, I think. You thought I knew, right?
I thought you definitely had to absolutely know, because it's Star Wars and it's been 4 years since that movie came out. So at one point I looked to you and you're like, you ready to see all your heroes die?
And I was like, I looked at the screen and it was Chewbacca and Han Solo on the screen at this moment. And I looked at him, I said, he's not going to die. And there's no way they're going to kill off Chewie. And my reasoning was like, Han Solo, I'm like, they made another movie with Han Solo, right?
You thought the Solo movie was the sequel or something with
I don't know. I paid...
It's incredible how cut off you've been from this series, because you're like, nope, I don't care. It's Star Wars. I stopped caring. So you literally didn't know that Solo was a prequel and didn't know Solo dies in Force Awakens, which is remarkable. That's just remarkable. That's commitment.
You guys
were committed.
Underestimate my hate and how much how much spite I have in my heart. I paid no attention when these movies came out. I was like, instantly, I was like, nope, not gonna see it. Don't care. Like, whatever.
But then we watched.
They changed Star Tours. I'm sad about that. Don't care about these new movies.
Then we watched Force Awakens, and you're like, you're kind of having fun, and you're like laughing at a few things here and there, and BB-8 comes out, and you're like, oh,
oh man, I hated myself because I wanted to hate. I was like, I'm this stupid, like, it's made to sell toys. Blah blah blah. I guess all Star Wars is. I know.
We talked about how like there was all those red dudes that we all had toys of, and they never did anything in the original movies.
The Imperial Guards are really badass looking.
They're so cool looking, and they
were like in Lego Star Wars, like fucking fun to play. But no, I saw BB-8 and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna admit he's pretty fucking cute, and I liked him. And like Rey was okay. I feel like in the first movie, all the characters didn't really have a lot of personality. I didn't really care much for Finn or Rey or anyone else really. I did really like, what's the name of Adam Driver.
Yeah,
I do I like Adam Driver because Solo. I just saw him in Marriage Story, and I thought he was actually a really good actor. So I kind of have this predisposition to think that maybe he was talented.
It's a very different angle to approach. Yeah, you're like, oh, it's the guy from Marriage Story.
It's funny, I went to that way first.
Kylo Ren.
The only reason I did that is because I loved Frances Ha, which is by the same director. So I went and watched that one, and Kylo Ren was actually really good in it. But I remember thinking to myself, wow, this guy's got a really deep voice. It was just odd to see him in any other movie, but when I saw him,
he's not a Sith.
When I saw him as a Sith, I was like, that makes sense. It actually really suits.
He can do the voice and the body, unlike last time.
And he honestly,
when they had to cast him separately.
He acted really well. I feel like everyone in the cast acts really well. I thought the first movie,
if they're given anything to work with at all,
was really flat. I didn't really feel a lot for it.
Yeah.
I remember thinking like, okay, kind of basic. I didn't really care much for the characters, but... So you also haven't watched the Marvel movies, and as a joke... That's another one that I'm I don't care.
As like a joke, you went in and just watched Endgame with no context and fell asleep and so on?
I did. Yeah. I did. But, I was in like the 5th row, and I was like staring straight up, and I was
to clue you
invited there.
That's what Marvel movies are. They're all like Force Awakens, pretty much, except for like the couple of standout good ones or a couple of standout bad ones. They're pretty much like Force Awakens. We're like, this is competently made. There's some charming people in it. It has like a climax. And you're like, all right, you did your job, movie, at being a movie for a bit. I will now never watch you again.
And I think like the Star Wars, these Star Wars movies, there is an aspect of them that is very, very important to certain people. And so with all the Marvel movies, none of those appeal to me at all because I don't have any kind of nostalgia for Marvel or anything.
Yeah.
The Star Wars ones, though, they got me a little bit because you got like, I saw C-3PO and I like wanted to cry. And then when I eventually saw Luke, I did cry. I don't know.
Weirdly, like I couldn't.
Carrie Fisher was great. She looks really great. I don't know.
weirdly, like, they never got me with nostalgia, strangely.
Oh, they did.
Because,
for
like,
me.
I mean, when we talk about the Marvel aspect, like, I went through and got sucked into watching them all because I was having fun, but, like, don't care about Captain America, don't care about Thor, don't care about the Hulk.
I don't know how you
don't care about Iron Man, and I didn't even know who the Guardians of the Galaxy were.
How could you get into them if you don't? Because I couldn't.
They just came out in theaters, and I just watched them, and I was like, oh, that's kind of fun. And I just had a fun time watching this thing. No, I only cared about X-Men growing up. It was X-Men, Spider-Man, and Batman were the only superheroes that mattered, basically. And the king of all superheroes was Gambit. Gambit is the best superhero design ever.
The reason I think Gambit's cool is because of Marvel vs. Capcom.
Kinetic card, Royal Flush.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, buddy.
Pull them out.
This is the only toy I own.
Sure.
This little shit.
Well,
you can see there's no toys up here.
Toy.
This is this guy.
Rocket Raccoon's right there.
That's a Pock figure that somebody inflicted upon me as a joke out of spite because I said I didn't want them, and they gave. And that's I can't throw away gifts is a problem. This is the only action figure I've bought since. Well, it's the only action figure I've ever purchased, actually. Because when you're a kid, stuff just happens at you. You don't buy things.
It is pretty cool, though. He's
the coolest guy.
He is the coolest guy.
He just stands there and falls over occasionally.
He does a lot.
Because he's really poorly balanced because all of his limbs move. It's really annoying. I want to glue him to this stupid stand because I don't actually want him as a toy. I just want to look at Gambit sometimes.
Well, do it then. Do it.
But he'll never get a good movie.
If every Marvel movie was like The Force Awakens, I would not have been able to watch the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you tolerated that because...
it's a thing where it's popular and your friends are going and you're like, I'll enjoy it. So you just go. And so I ended up watching every single one of them in theaters as they came out, like 23 or whatever, except Black Panther and Ant-Man 2. I watched both those on Netflix later on. So I finally was petering off just in time for Endgame to happen. And I'm like, well, I gotta watch that one. But
you must have a lot of patience and time because there's like no way. That's a lot of hours.
Well, I stick to television shows.
See,
that I only kind of like.
Yeah, see.
And I'll keep watching them.
That's the difference. That's the difference because the thing,
like I still watch Gotham and Flash, and I'm like, these are okay.
I'll start a movie.
I've watched all of.
I've
watched and read all of Walking Dead.
If the movie doesn't grab me in the first like 30 minutes, I will stop watching the movie. I won't commit. I'm like, you know what? You don't deserve it.
I don't stop watching movies.
I'll stop.
How many theaters have you walked out of?
Okay, that's different.
Or is it because it's so expensive?
If I pay for it, I won't walk out. Although there's only two movies. There's like 5 movies that maybe we've walked out of.
There's 2 movies that are so bad I wanted to walk out, which were Priest, which no one remembers, but it was a terrible action movie. Featured a bald guy with a cross burned into his forehead fighting on a train or something. And Man of Steel. Man of Steel was so relentlessly, horrifyingly boring and soulless and awful in every way that I actually just wanted to get up and leave, which is really unusual. Usually if a movie's bad enough that I'd want to leave, it crosses over into being so bad that I'm like, it becomes a spectacle, like Suicide Squad. I'm like, this is so bad I can't stop watching. But
I remember seeing the Tarzan. Tarzan was so bad, but I was watching it.
Was it live action or the cartoon?
No, the cartoon. The cartoon's great.
They made a live action Tarzan,
but it wasn't a Disney made remake.
I don't remember that.
It was someone else remade it and had Margot Robbie, which was such a shame.
Oh,
because she's great. And it had the guy from Inglourious Bastards, who's the Nazi who eats the cake.
Oh, Christoph Waltz.
Who I love.
Christoph Waltz is great.
That movie was so bad.
Oh.
It was so amazingly bad. At one point, I don't know, it's so bad.
I've never watched any of the Disney remakes yet.
It wasn't a Disney movie.
Yeah, but I've never watched any of those either. Because y'all were going off to Lion King and falling for that shit.
I didn't see that. I didn't watch any of them.
Oh, you were saying you wanted to.
Yeah, but then I heard how inexpressive it was, and so I didn't care for it. Because
they're not cartoons. They're CG realistic animals.
But anyways...
so first movie, pretty soulless, but it's flashy, it's fun, some silly things happen that are entertaining, but didn't do them enough.
If I wasn't sitting there watching it with you, I wouldn't have watched the second one.
Yeah,
I would give up. I'd say
one of the only things I like about the first movie is the Kylo Ren scene with Han Solo. Like Han Solo's specific choice to like essentially like embrace him and like let that happen, kind of seeming to know what was going to happen and everything.
He didn't think that was going to happen.
It's hard to tell because it's hard to read what to think about that scene. But like
him and Carrie Fisher were like convinced that they could sway him back.
But like that scene's like the most interesting scene in the movie.
Well, it is because it broke my fucking heart.
But they make another fucking Death Star. Another Death Star.
I really liked the scene with the Darth Vader melted mask. I thought that was really cool. Yeah. And also like how obvious it is that Kylo Ren is like pining to be the next Darth Vader because of how like so my my initial reaction with Kylo Ren is like, this guy's a little bitch. I told Keith, I'm like, he's such a bitch. How could I respect him? How could I respect him as a villain? He's obviously a little bitch boy he's wearing a mask for no reason. He's just like, he wants to be Darth Vader so bad and nothing about him is cool. He throws little tantrums and I didn't like him at all. But I understand why that's important for the movies going forward. I did like him as the movies went on, and actually, even though I had mixed, we're gonna get into this last movie, I still like him by the end of the last movie we just saw. So he's okay.
I like
he's one of the okay.
I like that he embodies the rage.
All of this.
The rage we keep getting told is supposed to be part of Sith, but every Sith we see in the movies is like really restrained and stoic and shit, which is like not what we're being told Sith are supposed to be. So like having a screaming tantrum baby that is all powerful and just destroying things and just raging on things it's kind of more entertaining, but it's also more what we're being told Sith were this whole time that we never saw because they kept almost forgetting to make Sith that way all the way up until maybe the end of Revenge of the Sith. Like it's pretty much just the Anakin fight with the lava is the only time we finally get to see like the angst and anger that they're supposed to be having, that we keep being told they're supposed to be fueling themselves off of.
I do also want to say that I don't inherently... Sorry. This is my dog.
Hi.
Her name's Kiki. She's pretty cool.
She's a lot of tongue.
Yeah, she's all licks. Lots of kisses. Sorry, mic sounds probably not good.
Oh, right.
Sorry, everyone. You could hear...
That's the loud tongue noise.
The ASMR.
It's more of a slap.
The dog weird. ASMR.
It's like a squelch slap.
Oh, she's so desperate. I also want to...
She has like a frog output, like it's like the chameleon when it launches the tongue out.
Yeah, it's like
violent.
It's a lot of strength in that tongue there. Good job.
Hey,
I'm proud of you. Okay, so I don't inherently think 1, 2, and 3 are great. So I want to say that too, because I don't want you to think that I also think
the prequels.
Yeah, they're not. But then, I guess what do I like about Star Wars? I'm like tearing apart
the original movies.
I do. I love the original movies.
You hated Rogue One, which you saw before this.
Yeah, see, that's one of those movies I went and saw with people just for fun.
Yeah,
and it was terrible. It was so bad. It was so bad. But I don't think 1, 2, and 3 are without its huge flaws either. So I'm not gonna, defend those. But no, so the whole thing about the Sith being like what they're supposed to be is never consistent. There's a lot of things in the whole series of Star Wars that is not consistent. Yeah, so I wasn't expecting
every single movie they've been making it up as they go along.
Yeah,
except the prequel trilogy. I mean, like the only planned arc ever. Obviously,
Anakin was also a little bitch boy who was throwing fits about everything. So you know what are Sith really supposed to be? Who's to say? And he turns into this stoic badass guy. It's really inconsistent. So just throwing that out there.
It's a whole thing. But
I did like Kylo Ren, so that's the point. I like Kylo Ren. I did like him.
One thing that's rough is that you do get like 2 movies deep before you really... Wow, it really never happens. So they poise like Rey, Finn, and Poe to be the new trio. Like there was a trio in the first movies, but they almost never interact with each other.
Because they're always off doing separate things.
They're always off doing their separate things, and it actually really runs through where it's like it's a gag by the end of the second movie. They're like it's like hi, I'm Poe. Oh, hi, I'm Rey. Oh, I know. And it's like, oh, after 2 movies these 2 characters finally properly meet for more than a minute. but then like they start off 3 kind of knowing each other and then promptly split off to never see each other again for the rest of the movie. Anyway,
that was one of my biggest complaints, was that I feel like they didn't have any kind of connection with each other.
No.
Like I didn't feel, and their interactions with each other were really kind of stilted.
It's like a trilogy long problem where these characters are just not together. They're not a group that does things together. It never
There's
is.
no banter. There's no,
Yeah.
like, well, the banter's not good, you know? And then Rey is actually a really good character, too. Actually, I do like Rey, but she's not good for banter. That's not really her, like, thing. She's really just kind of a badass.
When you get to Return of the Jedi, she has so many great... The Last Jedi, there's so many great scenes with Luke and Rey, because she's...
With Luke and Rey.
Great interactions,
Luke and Rey do good.
She interacts more with Luke in the second movie than I think she interacts with the other 2 of the trio in the entire trilogy.
Well, that's why I'm so confused that Finn's like, we're best friends. And I'm like, I don't feel that from you guys.
It's because that was what, as far as I can tell, it's what Disney just decided they were going to be from the outset. Is that those 3 had to be the new trio, which means they're default friends like they were in the first trio. But then none of the movies actually made that happen. So the best they could do is because 7 and 8 are back to back, no time passes between them. So they did a time jump between 8 and 9, and we're off screen. It's just implied they've grown close.
See, I don't like that.
It's not great.
That doesn't mean anything to me.
It's not great compared to the dynamic between Han, Luke, and Leia in the original trio, where they actually were on the ship together for a large chunk of the trilogy.
I don't know. I just felt like a kinship with them that I don't feel with these new people.
You mean like between them, or are you with them?
No, between them. That's what matters to me. I think I'm a big character development person, so movies, you can have a movie where nothing happens and I don't care as long as there's good like character development and dialogue.
Which is why you have to watch Fleabag.
Which is why I like Tarantino movies so much.
Yes.
A lot of people complain about Tarantino movies because they're all in one room.
And they all just sat in that lodge in the middle of the winter and they just talked for a while and they shot each other. Movies are dumb. Nobody even morphed into a Super Saiyan and beat the bad guy.
I was talking about Breakfast Club earlier. Breakfast Club is one of my favorite examples of that, you know. But anyways, I like those movies because I'm a kind of dialogue, character development nerd.
3D glasses.
Yes. Why you stole yours too?
No, I've had these for years.
So you also stole them at some point.
But a lot longer ago.
Poked the holes out.
Oh, these are even more reflective or less
for better hallway vision.
Yeah.
Someone out there will get it. But anyways,
I get it.
Well, you do because I told you.
I don't get it. I just know the reference because you told me it.
He gives him.
I haven't seen the movie forever.
Bender gives the guy the 3D glasses, and he says, "For better hallway vision." He puts them on because he's some cool stoner guy. But anyways, sorry. Okay.
Return of the Jedi. I hate the naming of this universe.
I actually don't even remember the name, so
it's The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, The Rise of Skywalker. So this is I see those names as a symptom of how small Disney's treatment of the universe of Star Wars is, and how it's like so full of like every movie is full of the characters from the previous movies and the locations from the previous movies and the like ships from the previous movies and stuff from the previous movies, to the point where all 3 titles reference just the most core elements of Star Wars lore keywords. Like if you look at the prequels, we had 2 that were called The Phantom Menace and The Clone Wars. Admittedly, The Clone Wars is name dropped like twice in like the first movie, but like as somebody who watched the movie a lot as a kid, did not remember that at all. Like that's a very ignorable detail. But like, you know, like, oh, what's the Phantom Menace? What's the Clone Wars? Like, what's going on here? This one's like The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker. It's like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of having a new cast and a new trilogy and a new story if it's still stuck to the same names and exact like tenets that it's always been? It's like, it's so reciprocal and so like it's like rhyming. It's like a poetry, it rhymes thing. It's just like it speaks to how little they want to test this out to me, which is a problem because they bought it for $4 billion and their goal is to like grow it out, and obviously they like already recouped their losses by now, but like,
so okay,
you need to not just loop forever if you want something to like go places and mean stuff.
It was funny, I was telling Keith that like right before we watched those 2 movies, I just was at work, whatever, I was listening to my headphones, and it just random podcasts. I was just letting them play. Like I wasn't picking these out, and it did like. And I heard this podcast talking about Star Wars and how Disney acquired Star Wars and like their plans for it and just like what this means. Because I think they were because the new movie was coming out, and I think they were just talking about things that were relevant. So Disney recouped its losses immediately. I want to say that like immediately, with the first movie, immediately, which is actually I think that first which one the
Force Awakens.
Force Awakens I think was the highest grossing movie of all time right now.
I don't think so.
In US, not including inflation, perhaps. They said something like that. Honestly, I'm not positive.
It's probably dedicated.
They said something like that. Well, not. Oh yeah, no, yeah.
It never became first, but it became third.
Well, is it including inflation or not?
I don't know, but right now the top.
Maybe it was box office. Because
looking at this thing, it goes Endgame, Avatar, Titanic, Force Awakens, Infinity War, Jurassic World.
Either way, it made fucking a ton of money. But I don't watch Jurassic World either.
Fuck that. Fuck that.
It was fun. It was kind of like, it was fun. It wasn't great. You can live without it.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is that Disney is already thinking, they're already thinking a lot.
Sorry, I just saw the 20th movie is Minions.
That makes me want to go jump off a bridge.
I'm unhappy right now.
I'm very happy. Don't look at this list.
This list is bad. Oh no. It's a dangerous list. Iron Man 3, Fate of the Furious, Incredibles 2. It's not great though. Beauty and the Beast. Oh, that's why they're doing all these remakes, because all the remakes are bad, but they're all making the top movies.
Disney's evil, dude.
Frozen, Jurassic World Fallen. The fucking sequel's also in the top 20 of what? What? Even the shittier sequels also in the top 20 movies of all time? The fucking second reboot of Jurassic World.
There are so many beautiful movies in this world. There are so many beautiful movies that mean so much, and it just breaks my heart that no one cares.
Remember when we had to watch the only Showtime of JoJo?
And JoJo's was so...
It had one screen.
Jojo Rabbit was so good, you guys. It was genuinely so good. It's better than all the movies we looked at on this list so far, like by a long shot.
Last Jedi is in 13th place. For all those people that pretend it's not. Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Does it break my
Black Panther.
Heart.
Avengers: Age of Ultron. It's a lot of Avengers. Furious 7. Avengers, Lion King, Jurassic World, you guys, Avengers, Infinity War.
Movies are one of the only things that I care about. Movies are one of the only things that I care about.
Titanic really stands out on this list, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
So
that's a fucking different era of movies. Like it's like a slow burn drama on a ship that breaks. It's such
my grandfather, who's the big Star Wars fan that I got all my Star Wars fandom from, he hates James Cameron because at the time Titanic beat out Star Wars for being like the biggest box office success, whatever.
Beat what Star Wars?
The original one?
Titanic came out in 1997.
Yeah, Star Wars is older than that.
Oh, I thought you meant beat it out that year or something.
No.
You beat it out to record.
Yeah.
Okay. I was confused. So
he hates James Cameron. He hates Titanic. That's like a fun
horrifying stat.
Oh no.
Disney's already broken $1 billion with 5 different movies this year.
Disney's evil. They buy everything and they care about nothing.
This will probably be the 6th one.
So what else?
All right, we got to get through these.
Oh my god, I'm sorry.
It's hard. We're clouded with the knowledge of the third movie in our heads.
All I was trying to say is that Disney was trying to make Star Wars appeal. They were trying to make it to appeal to the old fans and the new fans. They're trying to make new fans because they're thinking about the fact that their old fans are going to be dying soon. So they have this 40-year plan for Star Wars. So this isn't the last Star Wars movie. It'll just be the last Star Wars movie in this saga. But they're going to be making more Star Wars universe movies because they're thinking about the 40-year plan and all the people that are going to die who are already Star Wars fans, because that's how evil they are. They have like a 50-year span of like what they're doing next, because they got to acquire. It's
like how the concept of copyright keeps getting extended when to be approximately the age of Mickey Mouse forever.
Or it's like how cigarettes were trying to appeal to young people because they knew that all their demographic was slowly dying. It's very much the same thing. Star Wars fans are dying. We have to make new fans because we need more money. So
we're watching.
That's what these movies are.
We're watching Last Jedi, which you didn't want to watch because Force Awakens was meh. But then you admitted pretty early on that it was already better.
Yeah,
like half an hour, and you're like, "Wait, this is way better."
What's happening? It was way better.
And it's like these characters are getting developed. You get long, slow burn scenes of these like characters with their individual story arcs, where each one has a clear motivation and then a setup and then a plan, and then a lot of those plans go wrong in a nice like Coen Brothers kind of way, which is fun. But then also each one has an arc where they learn something over the course, and each character changes as a person in a certain way over the course of the story, and it's really clear arcs. Like really well projected characters that are well acted and interact with in a way where it's like it's entertaining, but also it's going somewhere with it and all that. And it's like it's such a difference from Force Awakens that was just like in a hurry. Like you get to hang out with Rey on an island with Luke for like a half an hour,
which was really rewarding emotionally. I like that Luke was developed as a person. I understood afterwards that apparently people really didn't like that, but I really liked that. I like that he's a cynical old man. If you
ever hear the real discourse about this stuff,
I didn't know any.
You're gonna get real confused why people are really angry, because it's really hard to explain to somebody that hasn't like spent the last 2 years in the middle of all this shit. Because it's really, the criticisms don't really make sense for the most part. It's really confusing, and I don't know. Here, go ahead. Try to criticize Luke. Is there anything?
No, I thought he was great.
Well, we heard it first. Here's Star Wars master.
Don't call me that.
Watched 1 billion hours of Star Wars. Like more than I ever have watched of anything.
Most people don't know that about me. But like,
you've watched too much Star Wars.
Legitimately, probably more than anyone you've ever known in your whole life, and I'm not even lying.
Oh, yeah, I don't.
My grandparents watched me like 5 times a week. And that's at least one of those movies every single one of those times.
Yeah.
From age, like, 5 to 15.
I can't even try to explain it.
So good luck with that.
I can't even try to explain it because it would, like, hurt to devil's advocate that hard for something I can't even comprehend myself. I'm sure we'll get comments that you'll
Disney movies and Star Wars. Those are the only things that I've ever watched during those times.
Luke's
and
great.
That's how I was babysat, with movies. Which maybe why I like movies so much. But
like every scene on the island is like, it's just great Star Wars. Like that whole through line, I just have a great time with all of that. Like it's full of comedy, but it's full of like actual ruminations on the state of that universe and what it means to be a Jedi and all these other aspects, and then 2 characters growing and learning from each other and so on, and while also being really well acted and so on. But you have this also cool back and forth where it's Rey doing that simultaneously with both Kylo and Luke in a different way, and they're both really great storylines in their own right. I'm like, this is great. This is a good movie. Make Rian Johnson make every Star Wars now. Except not, because we want more movies like Knives Out. So don't do that. Don't do that. Just fund him making movies forever as an apology for all the shit that happened the last 2 years.
What else did he make?
He made Looper and Knives Out.
Okay, so I need to watch Looper. I really like Knives Out.
There. It's that one great DVD in that stack.
In the Keith movie closet.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in the future.
We'll talk about Knives Out some other time, because Knives Out was really good.
We need to get the Knives Out. That was really good. Watch Knives Out. It's still in theaters for a little bit until Star Wars kills it to death. He made great movies before Last Jedi. He's now made great movies after Last Jedi, and he made 2 of the best episodes. He made several episodes of Breaking Bad, but the 2 that I remember
The Fly
is that he made The Fly and he made Ozymandias, which is the Hank episode, and that's a big deal. And those are great episodes of Breaking Bad. And he also made Brick, which I've never seen, but it has Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it, and people talk about that in good terms usually, but I haven't seen it yet. I want want to see him. I'm more excited about seeing his next thing than I am at seeing any Marvel or Star Wars movie.
Yeah, no, I don't care anymore.
Because Knives Out was so good. It was really... Watch Knives Out. We're done talking about Knives Out, though.
Well, some other time.
Yeah.
Okay, no. So I think some of the strongest things that the second movie did, and actually, honestly, kind of all three movies, there's like two things that I feel like haven't really been developed in the previous Star Wars movies. And one of which is that I feel like I understand what the Force is to a greater extent. I like all the cutscenes with, especially when she's training with Luke, where they talk about the Force and like her visions and the things like that. I feel like I have a greater understanding of like the conflict between the like.
You mean like that montage where she closes her eyes and she
Yes.
feels the actual concept of balance, then it's explained visually for the first time?
Yes. No, see, they do. Yeah. So explaining it visually is what the movies do better. And they do that a couple times. And all the visions she has, I think, are kind of, they don't do that very often, especially in like 1, 2, and 3. I don't really. I feel like a lot of people don't really understand what the Force is.
1, 2, and 3 is not great at visual storytelling. It was mostly people sitting
Luke
in a room and talking back and forth with each other.
Yoda does a good job explaining it in the original movies, but I feel like they don't really dive into it again until this point in these later movies now. And I feel like I understand it better as she's learning it. The other thing is I really like the connectivity aspect between all these different people, especially Kylo Ren and Rey. Like, I think that whole visual aspect of them interacting with each other is probably my favorite aspect of these three new movies. If I had to pick one thing to say that was my favorite between these three movies, right? Them and their relationship with each other, I think, is really meaningful. And I don't think any other movie has done it in that way. The closest would be how Anakin
in Palpatine, right?
Turns into, huh?
Oh, I was figuring like the closest thing to a connection we've had before between villain and protagonist before was Anakin and Palpatine, like at the opera and stuff like that. Because besides that, a kind of a problem Star Wars has as an entire saga is that the villains are always distant and always far away and
Darth
barely
Vader.
are in the movies, because whenever they show up, somebody basically has to die because they're at war with each other.
And
so
also,
like they can't
supposed to be like
really
the
show
final
down
boss
mostly.
of that movie. So if you see them, then you're done.
So like it's always the protagonist group fighting nameless soldiers that are very easy to dispatch while plot things happen. And at the end, the bad guy shows up in each movie, because the bad guy can't be an ever-present force in almost any of these movies because of this basic structure of what they made Star Wars like. And so Last Jedi making those bridges actually makes for some really interesting give and take and back and forth with these characters where they actually can interact in ways that go somewhere, even if it's really specific to them.
And I think it is a good point of playing the we are the two sides of the same coin kind of feeling, where you get the impression that it takes like maybe one bad influence or bad instance to turn you from Anakin to Darth Vader.
Just one bad day.
The whole one bad day.
That's
thing.
the plot of Killing Joke.
Killing Joke, yeah.
Spoilers, he's wrong.
Yeah.
Killing Joke.
Yeah.
The premise of Killing Joke is that Joker's actually wrong because Gordon doesn't break.
Because he's Gordon.
And neither did Rey.
Yeah. But yeah, so you kind of have sympathy for both characters because they kind of are it's just people who had different paths in life, but they're not really any better or worse than each other.
I also love the 3 flashbacks where it's like Kylo and Luke both present a reality where they're objectively in the right, and then you see them muddled in between in the 3rd flashback that shows how they like the way that they're both in the wrong.
Yeah.
Because like you get the full internal monologue and the fantastic acting from Mark Hamill of his face, and when you see like the rage and fury of like when he sees everything he loves being cut down, and so he lights the lightsaber, and then he just is just ashamed of himself.
Yeah, so
and, like it's so well done as a scene.
What Keith is referring to is like
people are like he ruined his character somehow.
There's a conflict between Kylo Ren and Luke in which one of them interprets it one way, the other one interprets it the other way, and then there is like an objective interpretation of what actually happened, but basically it's what leads Kylo Ren to be it's kind of implied that he had the potential to be on the dark side, but the whole point is that the potential doesn't make the person. So every person might have the potential to be good or bad, but it doesn't mean that they're going to end up that way.
His monologue, like his narration, shows that Luke was already sensing conflict and darkness in him before then, which is why he was like observing him in his sleep, basically. And then he got one of those visions and we see in Force Awakens how strong those visions are, because it's when Rey touches Luke's lightsaber, or was it Vader's lightsaber? When she touches the lightsaber that's in the basement, she completely loses it. Remember, like how strong that vision was. So you could totally see why, in a vision, Luke might have a visceral reaction strong enough to potentially light a lightsaber against one of his own pupils, but then not follow through with it. So it's like it all connects well. Like it doesn't disregard anything. It's like it's how the movies have established this kind of thing works.
And after Darth Vader, you look back on that and you kind of have sympathy for Luke's situation, because Yoda. So like Obi-Wan felt that there was a lot of darkness in Anakin, and Yoda was like, no, give him a chance. And look how that turned out. Yeah. Although, like I said, it's another one of those... And we know
that he knows.
One bad day situations.
Yeah.
But that, like, looking back on that, you can't blame someone for trying to, like, nip the bud on this potential evil.
Like, why that thought would come up.
Because if they killed Anakin when he was a kid, all of that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. And they say in that movie... He says that the Jedi Order's legacy is one of failure. They let Darth Sidious rise while they were at the peak of their power. They let Darth Sidious rise and kill them all. So like he knows the history at that point of the prequels, because he says it to us in Last Jedi. So he has very specific knowledge to be like, I can't let Vader happen again, and he lets Vader happen again. So
Vader happens again.
So he was kind of right at the end, even though he couldn't make himself do it, but he came too close anyway.
Well, but if he didn't attempt to kill him, he wouldn't have. Yeah. That was like the whole thing, is that he like jumped too fast, and so if he hadn't, he could have like nurtured him into being a good person, but instead the implication is that him attempting to kill him is actually what led him to be on the dark side completely. He like completely chose that. Because Luke fucked up.
Although things were going pretty bad on some level, because he already had the Knights of Ren within that group, and he and those people slaughtered the rest of the Jedi. So he had like a group of loyalists that were ready to kill their fellow Jedi already. So things were already iffy on that level.
Maybe it's a one bad day for Luke.
Even though the Knights of Ren seemingly never come up ever again in the entire trilogy, except maybe they're who he fought at the end of the last movie. I'm not sure, because they have weird masks that looks vaguely Kylo-y, and I'm like, are those the Knights of Ren that they name dropped in the first movie and never did anything and never showed up again? Because I'm confused. I was ready to assume the Knights of Ren were all the red guys. I was like, I
don't know.
They never say who the Knights of Ren are after name dropping them in Force Awakens. There's just some group who's like, you, the lead. Snoke calls Kylo, you, the leader of the Knights of Ren, and stuff like that. And I'm like, the who? And until this movie came out most recently, that maybe had a scene that was maybe the Knights of Ren for a second, I always assumed that maybe it was the red guys because they were in Snoke's chamber, and maybe they turned on Ren when Ren turned on Snoke or something.
Snoke was okay, actually. Snoke was like a wannabe Palpatine.
Yeah. Well, it technically got more to do than Palpatine, because Palpatine's such a brief character in the first movie. It's easy to forget because he has a trilogy of setup now, but in his original movie, he was pretty brief.
Well, yeah, but in the old movies, Palpatine's pretty badass. But anyways,
cackling and having fun with it all.
Let's talk about the synopsis. Review. First movie is mediocre. Didn't care about it at all. Wouldn't have watched anything else if they were all going to be like that. Didn't care. Kind of lame. Whatever. Set up the second movie. The second movie was actually pretty good. Not gonna lie. hit me.
You cried.
I did.
You cried because Yoda was a puppet, and you're like, we weren't ready for that.
You
weren't ready for puppet Yoda, and you cried.
When they're on the island, and okay, so I cried at the end of the first one when they showed Luke for a second, because I was like, ugh, like Disney, fuck you. because you know this stuff's going to make me nostalgic, and it really, really did. And honestly, a lot of my feelings about these movies are heavily weighed on that. And of course, it's what they expected, and it's what they're making all their money off of. But boy, they did a good job, because in the second movie, they had Luke Skywalker talk to Yoda in a ghost vision, like they always are. And instead of having the dumb CG Yoda from 1, 2, and 3, which is like, you know, whatever, they had the puppet Yoda from the original movies. And as soon as I saw him, I cried, because it reminded me of how special their connection was in the first movies and how much I just love him. And it made me really happy. It just made me really happy. So if anything, even if I hated the rest of that movie, that part would have made it worth it to me, because it made me so happy. And if they had their same banter where like Luke's kind of skeptical and Yoda's like, just believe, like,
and he's kind of irreverent now.
No.
It's like post-apocalyptic Yoda, where he's the irreverent one and everything. So he's like, it's like this, but the sacred to Jedi text. He's like, oh, read them, have you?
Yeah, he
page turners.
He's such a snarky little. He's like, well, you had. Yeah, it's like not page turners, are they? Like, you didn't fucking read them. Like, hi, dog.
She's back, and there's tongue noises.
Kiki can tell when I'm gonna cry, because every time I'm feeling misty, she like shows up to lick my tears away, because she knows that I'm thinking about Yoda. I'm gonna cry. But yeah, no, that got me quite a lot.
If I were to Clockwork Orange you and like, tie you up in a chair and make you watch one of these movies again, which one would it be?
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, no doubt. Wait, are you supposed to? Oh wait, is this supposed to be the movie I don't like?
No, which one did you want to watch?
Well, but in Clockwork Orange, they make him watch things he doesn't want to watch.
I mean, like, I'm assuming you don't want to watch any of these again, because you usually don't. So if you were forced to watch a Star Wars movie of this trilogy again, which one would you want to watch?
The second one. The second one's the best one. I'm going to tell you that right now. I think the second one's the best one of those three. So take that, J.J. Abrams. I think it was exciting. It was full of fun. The fight scene with Kylo Ren and
BRB when we review every Rian Johnson movie. We might. There's not that many. That's the thing. It's like reviewing every Edgar Wright movie.
That would be really fun.
It goes by really quick. It's like 4, 5. Trilogy, Scott Pilgrim, Baby Driver. They're all up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all up there somewhere.
We should do that.
Yeah.
Some other time. But no, the Kylo Ren Rey fight scene against Snoke was really good.
Oh, it's so good.
It was really, really good.
It's so good. And there's specifically, it's a giant, beautiful red room, and it's revealed to all be a curtain, so it lights on fire, and the entire red... So they're wiping out the Sith Master and all of his goons, and to symbolize that, the entire fucking red curtain that circles the entire room burns down, revealing black behind it. And in the next scene, with the next Kylo Ren scene, the sky is white, and the ground is red.
Yeah.
Because light is triumphing over the dark because it's Luke versus Kylo. It's like there's visual imagery because Rian Johnson's a fucking genius.
Oh my gosh.
Like the scenes are set up beautiful. Oh, you just go back to thinking about Luke's death scene. Yeah. You've not thought about that yet in the session.
You know.
It's great, right?
It's great. It's great.
And like his final sight is him hallucinating the twin sunset from his homeworld, which wasn't really there. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
They show one sun, then they show a second sun, and then they go back to showing one sun again, because it's just as he's fading away, he hallucinates the Tatooine suns.
That was so cool too.
And it plays the twin sunset song or whatever it's called.
When Luke shows up and he just he just out badasses everyone, and you're like, that's why he's the best. He is the best. He was the best.
They pummel everything.
He was the best. I knew to believe in him. I was right.
His reaction to getting shot.
Ooh.
They all fire onto him continuously. This giant cloud of mist, and then just one dusting of the shoulder.
That was so cool.
And also at the beginning of the movie, he's like, "What do you expect me to do? Just walk out with a laser sword and face down the whole First Order?"
He does.
It's a good movie. It makes you feel things. No. I watched it 3 times now, and it just makes me feel things, which is what Star Wars is supposed to do. And here's the fucking problem we're going to get into now, is that, see, I was detached from Star Wars because I grew up watching the prequels, and I loved them as a kid, but they soured in my mouth over time because, you know, you get older and you get more discerning, and you're like, oh no, these aren't that great, huh? Oh. And like, I just felt too detached from the original trilogy. They were always like great movies that I just didn't feel like a personal connection to. It was always like, these are great. There's a lot of great movies though, but these are more great movies. It's fine that people like them so much.
Nothing's sacred. Nobody loves anything. Everything. Yeah. Everyone ruins everything. But then I have no faith in anyone ever again.
Force Awakens comes out, and I'm like, yeah. Because I was like, oh, it's J.J. Abrams. He makes bland but acceptable movies, and that's what all the Marvel movies are too. So this will be another bland, acceptable movie. And then I was largely right. And I was like, that was fine. It's really stupid how there's a stupid jigsaw puzzle map that R2 has, and BB-8 has the other half of it.
That was funny.
And specifically, the part that BB-8 has from the beginning of the movie is the part that Luke is in. R2-D2 just has the surrounding area.
That was stupid.
And we're supposed to think that they just don't have mapped galaxies.
They just want to have R2-D2 have a thing.
And it's, yeah, so R2-D2 and the R2-D2 wouldn't have the map anyway. He has.
They mentioned it at the very beginning. So, I don't know. That's a dumb little side note.
That's the one thing that stood out to me.
There's a few. I mean,
every J.J. Abrams movie has at least one really dumb thing that stands out to me.
That was a really dumb
endlessly.
thing.
Like, did you watch the Star Trek reboot? The one from 2008.
I'm gonna tell you right now, dude. Anything that's a reboot, I don't watch because I just ignore it because they always fuck it up.
I'll just say
it breaks my heart too much. I care too much.
A stupid ship with enough red matter to destroy all of the universe ever. It just bothers me every time I watch that otherwise like fun movie. I'm just like, but why does that exist ever? But anyway, that map, I was like, the fuck is this? I don't know. And one thing that I find weird is that people got really mad about Rey's parentage. They were really fixated on like, which bloodline is she a part of? And I'm like, I watched the first movie and it didn't even like, it's like I literally didn't have that question. And so when it was revealed that her parents were no one, I'm also like, that's just more character development for her. I wasn't like, oh man, what a missed opportunity. She could have been like a Palpatine or whatever. So because it's like, I'm like, her being an orphan is just who she is. That's her character setup. I don't need that to be proven wrong or anything like that. Like I was totally fine with the.
I kind of liked the whole Kylo Ren had the potential of having fantastic, loving parents, and he turned out evil. And then you have this person who literally has no parents,
and she's the light side one.
Yeah, because the whole point is it's like it's like you can be anyone. It's how your situation turns out. It doesn't matter what your beginning is. You can be anybody.
There's a lot of elements of duality there too, because there's also the element where Kylo is named Ben Solo, and as revealed in the shitty Han Solo movie, the reason why Han Solo is named Solo is because he was alone. He didn't have any sort of root or history or family. So the canon is that when he joined like the stormtroopers or whatever, like because he joined the Empire briefly, just to get off planet basically, and they entered his last name as Solo because he didn't have a last name. He didn't have a family. So that's the canon for why he's named Han Solo. But that means that he's Ben Solo, but he actually comes from a legacy, and she's actually alone. And like there's like the inherent like back and forth there.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Because Ben's like one generation removed from being orphans themselves. Like it's like there's a lot of connections to be made there that are actually kind of interesting. It's like the one kind of cool thing to draw from that, like the irony of the fact that he's named Solo when he's the one that has a family and things like that. Their relationship's great, like a lot of those elements and so on. But I just, the story literally works better if Rey doesn't have any knowledge of where she came from, which is what is set up in Last Jedi. And well, we can just go ahead and throw that out. I'm genuinely worried that Rise of Skywalker will retroactively poison the movie I like, because sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't.
What do you mean?
So like, it goes back and forth. Like, Mass Effect's famous for having a really bad ending, but I've replayed Mass Effect knowing the ending and still enjoyed it again. But at the same time, Game of Thrones is famous for having a terrible ending now. I don't know if I can put myself through Game of Thrones again, knowing how it ends up. So I'll be curious to see if I can still like Last Jedi as much as I did, knowing how fucko this gets. Because this gets messy. Let's talk about Rise of Skywalker. Oh. First of all, can we just talk about how the editing is horrible? Like, the pacing is fucked. It's a nightmare. Like, it's terrifying. Like, I got a headache watching this movie because, like, 3 scenes happen per minute, and it's like rapidly cutting between massively different arcs and storylines of different locations, but also every scene is so fast and every character is just explaining the plot directly to the camera for like the entire film. Like, there's no all those long quiet scenes of Rey and Luke on an island developing as characters and exploring the Force and everything are gone, and now everyone's just narrating the story directly to the camera in every scene and just saying the plot at each other, and nobody gets any development over the course of the movie basically. And it's like it feels like we got a lot of these in the mid-2000s. It feels like one of those many bad movie adaptations of an overly long young adult novel where they have too much they have to get through in a short runtime. So it's just all adaptation. It's like a 5-hour screenplay adapted into a 2.5-hour movie, and you're just like, you would blink and then lose track of what was happening. It's like, at the beginning, I'm just exhausted because of like, we're on this planet, now we're on this planet, no, we need this MacGuffin, but we need this MacGuffin that leads to the other MacGuffin that leads to the other MacGuffin, because we need to get the dagger that leads to the holocron, but they're calling it a wayfinder, which at one point they say a sentence that says we need to find, the only way to find the way is to find the wayfinder, and I'm like, I hate you for that, writing that script. It's like writing unobtainium in your script. Like, they need the wayfinder.
What's unobtainium from?
Avatar.
Oh my god! It's
the magic mineral that's the reason they're fucking planet up.
Also didn't watch that. Yeah, I'm never gonna watch
that's unobtainium.
Fuck that.
Yeah, that's a mess.
Don't care.
Like, we already have a word. It's called a Sith holocron. You could just say the Sith holocron is the thing that has it, but also delete that whole MacGuffin from the story because there's too many MacGuffins that all just lead to finding one planet. But so much of the movie is a weird treasure hunt for some reason, just to visit planets really quickly. Like, there's teaser images of that, like, parade. Like, it was in the trailer, the parade. I'm like, oh, what's that going to be like?
That was nice for a second.
That parade's going to be about as much as you saw in the trailer. They go there for a second, and Rey talks to one little girl, and it's like, I'm name. I'd also like to know your name. Oh, I'm just
What
Rey.
kind of kid asks for your last name?
Yeah.
Hey.
They just put a scene in to shame Rey for not knowing who her parents are.
What's your...
You forgot.
Sorry, what's your family name? She's like, oh, my name's Rey. And the little girl's like, what's your family name, though? What kind of kid cares about your last name?
I'm just Rey.
Okay.
How do you even start with this movie? It's a fucking mess.
Here's how I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start saying, okay, thanks a lot, Keith. Okay. Thanks a lot, Keith.
I didn't know it would crash this hard. I thought it would be as good as Force Awakens.
You got my hopes up for a second.
Know.
And I was never gonna do this again.
I couldn't have known.
And I know now my opinion is solidified. I'm not doing this shit again. No remakes, no reboots, none of this shit. Because it has failed again, and I shouldn't have even thought that it was gonna be good for a second.
Right.
How dare you?
I didn't finish the thought from a second ago. Is that, like, when I was talking about Last Jedi, like, the dangerous thing happened, which is I started really emotionally engaging with Star Wars and caring, which I hadn't done.
How dare you make me care?
About how, like, I stopped being a fan of the prequels and I never fully became a fan of the original movies. The biggest fan I've ever been of Star Wars before now was when I played Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, which were just so fucking good. And then, like, so, like, Force Awakens, I'm passive. I'm like, cool, it's another Marvel movie, basically. It's just fine. But Last Jedi made me, like, engaged and feel things. And it made me feel like, oh, no, I'm becoming a fan of a thing. This is a problem. Like, I became overly invested. And I really cared, like... Once I realized I was going to probably watch this movie today, last night, I actually lost a little sleep thinking about how, oh, God, they're going to fuck it up. Like, I was losing a little sleep over this fucking movie, even though it's just a movie, and that's, like, weird for me. And it's like, and then, they fucked it up hard.
They destroy everything that I love.
They fucked it up so hard, and they made sure to kill everyone. They even killed Carrie Fisher. I'm like, just let Carrie Fisher survive the trilogy. It's fine.
She died in real life already.
Yeah, but just let her. Yeah, just let her serve. Let her be the one person.
Especially after she had that great.
You don't have to kill everyone.
She had that great survival in the second movie, where she like floats back to safety, which was so badass.
Yes.
And it was her using the Force, which was cool because she never does that.
It's one thing is you finally get to see Leia use the Force in a more explicit way, because we know she could because she found Luke in Bespin or Cloud City or whatever. Like that part happened. So like we knew she was Force sensitive, just like her members of her family. But we never got to see her use the Force like in a more explicit way. So like that moment of like, oh no, they're killing Carrie Fisher, and like in your head you're thinking. When you watch the movie when it came out, you're like, Carrie Fisher died like a year ago. They probably don't have enough footage of her to do the whole thing. So like, the way that she like faces the camera and then it just explodes out, you're like, that's a pretty easy way to kill off Carrie Fisher's to kill off Princess Leia, because they probably didn't have more of her, is what I was thinking at the time. So when she wakes up and floats back in, you're like, it's so fucking cathartic, both because you're seeing her use the Force and because it's like this triumphant that you get to see like this fucking power move scene of this dead actress that you like are sad about being dead, and you're like, oh, you get to have this triumph that you don't expect to have because you're so sure they're killing her off. Well, because she's in the rest of the movie. She
gets to live in some way. She gets to live in some way in the Star Wars universe. She lives on, and like that's cool.
Yeah.
So you don't have to kill her in the third one. And that's kind of a fucking bummer.
Really unnecessary death too.
It was really unnecessary.
It was so unnecessary.
And also, I don't understand.
She dies the same way as Luke, and it's like
I don't understand how it helped anything.
Shittier.
I don't understand how it helped anything.
It's really iffy. At most, she died to distract Ben for just a moment, which between being distracted by by his mother and then being stabbed by Rey, but then healed by Rey, and then seeing his father was collectively enough to turn him, I guess. It was really rough. I had mixed feelings about it. At first, I genuinely thought that they were going to kill off Kylo and Leia in the same scene and then just go on to have Rey versus Palpatine. And that dread in my heart was so tough because I'm attached to Kylo from Last Jedi and Leia from Last Jedi. They're so great in that movie. I thought they were both killing them off, that even when Rey is like awkwardly healing Kylo and then running away, I didn't recover for the rest of that scene to even process that good things were happening even or anything, because I was so like the dread of the idea that they were going to kill both of those characters off in such a callous, shitty way and just not even bother with a proper Kylo arc and all that and have it be so shitty and forced. And also like I was very mad they were killing Leia off in such a throwaway scene practically, and then also potentially killing Kylo. I'm like, it was way too much of a valley for me to climb back out of over the course of the next couple of scenes. Like, it was like, I was actually mad. And I didn't, and like, the fake out is too much of a fake out and also not a fake out because she's actually dead. So it's like, I was not happy watching that. Also, they never came up with stuff for Poe and Finn to really do in these movies. So they get more, especially in the third movie, like I feel like you could have just. They eventually was like they didn't matter, like they were just coming up with tasks.
They didn't really matter.
By the like. Also,
they broke the shipping.
Yeah. So to go back to the Star Trek reboot, there's a review by Mr. Plinkett of the Star Trek reboot, and he calls it a case of the not gays. Is what he says, that everyone's got a case of the not gays. They got to establish for each person that they've all got a love interest. So Spock's into Uhura, and the first thing you see of they all have beards
because China doesn't like gay people. So if they want the movie to do really well in China, they can't have anyone who's explicitly gay in any movie that they want to do well in China.
It's like Poe and Finn.
In case you don't know that,
Poe and Finn have repeatedly talked about, like their actors have repeatedly talked about how like they knew when they were auditioning from day one, they realized that they had chemistry, and so they kind of wanted to like, you know, tease and like not even gay, like not even like the what's it called, gay baiting or whatever, like queer baiting. Like not even queer baiting. They wanted it to be canon. They wanted those two characters to be
cute.
They want.
I really shipped them.
They had several really good interactions in the first two movies.
I shipped them, and I shipped Kylo and Rey.
But then in the third movie, they both get love interests.
I know, it broke my heart. And
specifically, one of them's even worse, because one of them gets weird forced love interest out of nowhere. It's weird bounty hunter lady that you never see the full face of, and is barely in the movie anyway.
I don't.
And then Finn also gets a love interest who their entire relationship with each other is developed off camera, apparently, because they seem weirdly close by the
apparently
end,
they have off, like,
they didn't
before
have any scenes.
No, but the whole point is, like, beforehand they knew each other.
Oh, no, that was Poe. I mean Finn.
Yeah. What, Finn?
Finn's coupled off with the strange love interest that comes out of nowhere, the one that rides the horse things.
No, I knew so little.
She has like 3 lines of dialogue in the whole movie, but by the end they're like, there are 4 scenes in this movie where Finn says something on comms, and that lady's just like hand over shoulder, like she's like in his space, like they're like a thing, and they're not saying anything. And it happens like over and over again, to the point where like at the end, their big final sacrifice is like hand in hand, like we're going to get this gun to work and shoot whatever's happening in that scene. And poor Rose is on a different fucking world from them, even though she was the established like kind of love interest in the previous movie, because they jar-jarred her because people didn't like her. So they're going to dress her all in gray and get her out of the plot as much as possible. They
cut her hair, and she was like,
she's dressed as boringly as possible. Her hair is cropped back, and she only says expositional dialogue, and she's not anywhere near Finn for the entire film.
Okay.
And it's like, it's really angry. So
there's a couple things. One is, I felt like because they had this whole like weird chemistry, I thought the whole point of him, like, because she kisses him in the second movie, and it reveals that she has feelings for him, but then she like passes out, and I got the impression that the reason that never is fruitful is because Finn and Poe are kind of a thing.
Yeah,
and that makes sense.
Kind of draws back. He's confused.
Let her down easy.
Like it came on him.
He's gay. It's not your fault. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
They're like afraid.
In my
of that.
head, they don't have to say it, but in my head, I like that idea. I'm going to stick with it. It's cute. I like it. It feels good. It feels like what was happening.
The actors wanted it to be true. There's interviews about this where they say this.
The second thing I want to say, right, is that Star Wars is kind of notorious for perhaps not having a lot of diversity in its human cast.
Yeah.
So there's only 3 black people at this point. They bring Lando Calrissian back, and then they have Finn, who's a great character, but then they have the shoehorned love interest for him, who also is like a black person, but she's related to both of them. So she's perhaps, it's implied at the end that she might be Lando's daughter. Did you catch that?
I don't think that's what they meant. What I thought
he said, "Where are you from?"
Because Carrie Fisher's daughter is in these movies, I thought she might have been the actor's daughter.
No, well, maybe,
but not Lando's daughter, because they're like, let's find out who your parents are. Well, I thought they were saying.
No, but that's the point. Is that he says where. She says, "Where are you from?" And he says where he's from. And she says, and he looks at her like in like a weird way, and he's kind of like, "Well, where are you from?" And she says, "I don't know." And he's like, "Well, let's figure it out together." I feel like there's no other reason why you'd. And
it was a slightly weird one.
But what? Okay,
like, why are they playing?
But why you got to make? I don't know. Why you got to group them off together? I feel like that's kind of not.
We found 2 black people in the universe. They must be related.
Or they must be love interests. Like, why can't you have... I mean, it doesn't matter. But I just feel like they kind of did that perhaps on purpose. And I don't really care for that.
Like, when they're talking about the case of the not gays and that thing, they refer to like how in the reboot, Kirk is immediately in bed with a green lady. Spock is coupled with Uhura, even though Spock's like inherently kind of not coupled with anyone generally. And then even like Scotty like objectifies the ship, like she got a she's saying he's like the Enterprise got a nice pair of nacelles, if you know what I mean, and stuff like that. Like everyone's got to say things that show that they like women and get them all out in a row. And it's like that felt like this here, where it's like they didn't want the Finn Poe shipping to happen, so
let them be alone
specifically
together.
made sure they had girls. Even
they
though
gotta have girls around.
It bloats the fuck out of the movie to add 2 new characters that don't do anything when you already had Rose, and Poe doesn't need a love interest.
And Rose was fine. I feel like if he was going to be with any woman, just make it be Rose. Like if
it almost seems like they suggest
if you were going to retcon, if you're going to make them not for sure not gay. Rose was awesome. Rose is cool.
She's a really good character.
Why can't he be with Rose?
She literally
Why can't he be with Rose?
She literally risked her life to save him because she loves him.
She earned it.
Like,
she earned it, and she's fucking adorable.
It's so incoherent to be like,
why? If I was gonna ship him with anyone else, it would be her.
Did you hear how lame the description was, by the way?
What?
They're all going off an adventure, and Rose is like, nameless person off camera said that they would like me to inspect Star Destroyer schematics to find... Like, she has homework, so she can't go with them, and she's dressed in gray, and she's sad, and she's sitting in the corner.
Poor Rose.
There's a bunch of moments where she's just standing there next to Leia and just watching exposition happen between other characters, and I'm like,
well, okay.
Rose. She became like Carrie Fisher's daughter in the first movie.
All I know
doesn't say anything. It was just there.
I feel like some of their decisions were to appeal to their Chinese demographic, which, you know, whatever, trying to make money. But I just know there are certain things that are really unacceptable in China.
Oh, you want to talk about things not acceptable in China? Did you notice that the woman with like the nose that was in Last Jedi, that was like next to Holdo a lot? She's like kind of one of the other commanders, but she's not really a character that much. Like when they were like saying, like they're declaring that Holdo, I think she's the one that declares that Holdo is the new leader in Last Jedi. She's like the blonde commander lady. She's older looking. At the end of the movie, in the jungle on Yavin 4, is it Yavin 4? Endor 4? Moon of Endor. It's the moon of Endor, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the.
But I don't remember what it's called.
That's the. I think it's Yavin 4. I think it might be Yavin 4 is the planet that Return of the Jedi takes place on, which is where this movie ends too. Yeah,
same place, but I don't know what they're new planets.
Which we'll get to that in a second too, by the way. But they have a cutaway scene with no other story context surrounding it, where she kisses another woman full on.
I saw that.
But it's a scene you completely can edit out without changing the movie. So they're just going to edit it out of the Chinese version. They specifically did it in a cutaway scene that's completely detached from the rest of the film, so they can earn credit in one region, but cynically cut it out in the other regions because they're assholes and China's awful. And that's what they're going to do. But there is one gay kiss in this movie, technically.
And I thought that was like shoehorned into. Like maybe they're like, oh well, we didn't do the Finn Poe thing, so we got to make people happy. So we want to put this in to make people happy.
I want to point out,
and I'm like, fuck you, Disney.
This entire movie,
you're just trying to win points.
They're trying to find where Palpatine is, and he turns out to be where he was at the end of the last movie he was in. As far as I could tell, that's what the plot was. He was on, like, I think he was on the core planet that the jungle planet was orbiting, because he was in the Death Star. Wait, no, that was the. Here's the thing about how fast this movie fucking moves. It's hard to tell what its plot was. Are you having trouble with that too?
Yeah. No, I had a really hard time with that.
One way,
and I wasn't sure if it was just me, and I was tired.
No, I'm very confused. But at the very least, the place they had to go at least 3/4 of the way through the movie was the crashed Death Star, which they already knew the location of, because it's the most famous thing that ever happened in Star Wars, basically.
Yeah. They
spent the first half of the movie learning they had to go there.
Yeah.
And also, Rey has that takeaway of like, the dagger looks like the light up, and she's already standing in the exact spot where she can just line it up.
Yeah, I didn't understand the dagger.
It had an extendo wire that has a red arrow on it.
Yeah.
And she lines it up with the debris, and the red arrow points at the spot she has to go to.
But I remember thinking, like...
It's like a YouTube thumbnail.
The debris shouldn't be consistent. Like,
you think the water would move it around and erode it over the course of decades, or fuck with it.
How long has it been?
It's a violent storm, apparently.
When did they make the sword? Did they expect the debris to never move?
It must have. The sword must have been made after the Death Star crashed. So the debris has just been consistently in the same spot, even though it's specifically set up as a tumultuous ocean that's like unnavigatable, except for how navigatable is, and they navigate it without any problems.
But then they wasn't there like an inscription on the sword or something? And
that was. Yeah.
What was the point of that if they could just line up
the MacGuffin is so convoluted that's actually like really, it's actually annoying to reach. Here's the thing. I want to know if you can answer this question.
Okay.
At the end of the movie, Poe and Finn are doing something. What were they doing?
What are you talking about?
The giant battle.
Oh.
What were they doing?
Okay, so
why did they want to go on that one ship to shoot and they had to like sacrifice themselves to connect the wires to make the cannon shoot something? What was happening? What was the plot there?
Okay.
I don't know what was happening, which really kills the stakes. And that's never happened in the Star Wars movies to me.
This is a side note. So I brought with me to this film a flask, but I realized partway through that I can't drink any of it. I didn't drink any of it.
You didn't drink any of the vodka you brought?
Because I realized that I already couldn't understand what was happening in the plot.
So you couldn't drink it at all?
So I didn't drink any of it.
So you didn't actually drink? Okay.
No. Well, I had a beer.
Oh, you had a beer. That's normal, though.
But I couldn't drink any of it.
Oh, right. They do sell beers there.
Yeah.
I'm not used to theaters doing that, but we have a fancy theater. They get gourmet hot dogs with a billion ingredients on them. All of my ranting and raving after the film was literally just me on fumes of how weird and irate I was about the film, and it had nothing to do with liquor, because I couldn't drink during this movie because I realized I couldn't understand what was happening. Yeah.
And I knew that if I drank anything, it was going to be harder.
Have you ever not understood what's happening in a Star Wars movie?
No.
Like, I had this rant earlier today, but I don't know if it was...
I can't drink because I need to be able to say what happened in this movie.
Yeah, I don't know if I told it to you or if it was just the Q&A I did earlier, but like, almost every Star Wars movie is a heist movie. At its core,
fundamentally,
you're doing a multi-pronged infiltration to accomplish this one goal. The first movie's kind of clear. They just fly in, they shoot, and so on. But like starting with like Empire, it becomes a multi-pronged thing where these people are here and those people are there, and that thing's happening. Empire. It's specifically like Return of the Jedi, Phantom Menace, Rogue One in particular. All of those are, and also Force Awakens. They're all heist movies, and also partly even Last Jedi and so on.
Force Awakens was that good one, right?
Force Awakens was the not as good one. It was the first one, and then Last Jedi was the good one.
Last Jedi was, I think, a good example of that.
But they're
all on the ship together doing different things.
They've hit the formula, and in fact, like in the Plinkett reviews for the prequels, they go back and they talk about how like Star Wars 1 had a simple ending. Star Wars, just Luke got to shoot the thing. It's like, oh yeah, good job, use the Force, Luke. Then the second movie, they split the cast into two locations. They're doing two things simultaneously in the ending. There's the duel with Vader, and then there's the shootouts in the hallways. Then the third movie, there's like the shield generator, and there's the Millennium Falcon, and then there's also the Vader Sidious scene is happening. Those are all happening in parallel. So there's still like the infiltration and blow up the big thing that's happening in each movie, but they're split into three separate storylines now. Then you get to the next movie, which is Phantom Menace, where there's the Gungans out in the field, there's the infiltration of the palace room, there's the Duel of Fates room, and there's Anakin fighting in space at the same time, and it's chaos. And they keep getting more like that with each new movie they make. And almost all of them are this multi-pronged thing where almost every Star Wars movie ends with like there's a space battle and there's a lightsaber battle and there's some kind of infiltration where they got to like deactivate the shield or blow up the thing. And specifically one of the things I enjoy is that in Last Jedi, it's that multi-pronged plan where it's just crazy enough to work. It doesn't work. They all fail. That's what I like about Last Jedi is it's the one movie where they all fail at that part. And the only kind of successful part is the duel. And the duel doesn't play out how you think it is because the two people with lightsabers, their lightsabers never touch, which is fun. In Last Jedi, no lightsaber ever touches another lightsaber. How fun is that to think about?
See, that was a unique scene because the two people who you think are supposed to fight, and I guess there's like Snoke you think is maybe going to fight. They're not a part of it. Like the two people. It's like Rey and Kylo Ren work together, which you didn't think was going to happen. And Snoke isn't actually a part of the last battle because he gets killed in a really cool way instantly.
It's really great.
So it's them working together to kill everyone else in the room.
Just an array of really cool weapons while the curtain burns in a circle.
Yeah, and none of them are Jedi that they're fighting. Yeah. But then at the end, and then you think that they're friends now, and they kind of are, but at the end it's like...
And it's like emotional and you're feeling
and you
things.
think that they're good. You think they're good, but at the last second they were like...
The important thing about...
No, like you should join the dark side. So and she's like,
There's one thing that's really, really
it's kind
important.
Kind of a nice touch. Still different.
Any action scene, in order to be emotionally effective, you have to really clearly know the motivations of the characters in it, what is happening,
and
what the stakes are, and what the chances are of failure. Because then you can like ratchet the tension of like, oh, that thing, the bad thing's going to happen. Oh, the good thing's going to happen. And like, if you get to this movie where every other scene, we're both fully paying attention. We know how to watch a Star Wars movie. We've watched all the other ones. Both of us independently can't tell you what's happening in half of the action scenes or what the stakes are or what the point is.
I hope, like, don't kill me, Keith, but I fell asleep a little bit during the space battle. And then I woke up and there was a guy.
Really boring.
There was a guy like 4 spaces down that was like snoring.
I heard the snoring. I heard snoring in the theater, which is a loud movie, so I was impressed, and I was worried you were asleep because I heard the snoring.
No, see, that one wasn't me.
Yeah.
But I fell asleep for like 10 minutes, which isn't very long, but the fact that I was able to fall asleep during the scene shows how little it did to invest me in this space fight. It looked great. Like, all of them have looked great. It's
pretty.
It looks pretty.
The lightning was pretty.
But
I'm also like, how do you beat that?
They do a hard time developing like a mental map in your brain of like what's happening and where.
Yeah.
And what they are in relation to each other, and also what they mean. So when you're watching this, it's like...
Which has never been a problem before.
No.
You always know what's happening in the climax of a Star Wars movie.
And it looks cool, and it's like... But I found my brain like zoning out because I like...
They changed planets so many times, I didn't know where we were.
About my plans for tomorrow. I was like thinking about Christmas. And then I had to be like, okay, draw back, pay attention. But none of it mattered.
Yeah, like I can't tell you what Finn was doing when he hot-wired the gun to shoot at the side of the thing. I don't know why they were doing that or what was being accomplished by that.
I don't know what they were doing.
Because, like, as far as I could tell, just beating Sidious made everything better. Well, because I don't know what the mission everyone was dying in. Yeah. Also, it's the third time we've done the scene where Palpatine or Palpatine stand-in in the case of Snoke, you're like in the throne room. For the third time, Rey or Luke is in the throne room with the Dark Lord, and they open up a window to all of the people in the ships that are all dying. And like, they're all dying because of you. I'm afraid the shield. I'm afraid the shield will be quite operational. Or like Snoke does like a Nazi. Snoke does the fucking. They're Nazis anyway. Yeah. Snoke has the magnifying glass pointing at the fleet just to highlight the fact that they're all getting shot out of the sky because of the Benicio del Toro. It's a great little character being a traitor, but he was never on their team anyway. And then this time, a giant sky window opens up to show that everyone's dying, and I'm like, so we're doing this again, huh?
Okay, right. So a couple things they did that was cool. I like seeing Emperor Palpatine. I thought he was cool. He looked cool. He looked great. He was evil. He like felt really very impending and awesome.
I like that he's only revealed in flashes in the first scene.
Oh,
that's really creepy.
That first scene when they walk up and he says that quote.
Yeah,
he says that quote that I love.
All the good scenes in this movie.
That's what I'm doing right now. So I'm doing right now. He says like a quote about like the dark side being like leads to many pathways that many consider unnatural. I was like, oh my gosh, it's Palpatine.
I liked a lot of that scene. As much as I'm a little frustrated that Palpatine's back, because as like plot wise, it's like, come on. Him. But like the fact that he's like a nightmare zombie thing,
he's awesome.
Like, I don't think he had legs. Like that was kind of.
He was like, cool. I've been dead before.
But frustrating thing.
Oh my goodness.
I don't like the amount of shitting on Snoke that's happening. I feel like Snoke should just be his completely self-sufficient Dark Lord. Maybe Palpatine, maybe he's part of Palpatine's plan in some way, but not necessarily like a fucking slave of Palpatine. He's revealed to be like a clone creature. Palpatine when he said he made Snoke, he's not doing like this whole like mafia movie or like business movie.
That's what I thought he meant at first.
Yeah,
I thought he meant like
he's not like I made you. He's like I made you. The way that like business people talk and like when they're criminals or villains.
I trained him everything.
But then they show a vat with a bunch of Snokes floating in it. I'm like, how dare you?
That was stupid.
I was like, I'm gonna give this movie the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna try to like it. Well, it's Star Wars. I'm here to have a good time. And the first scene shows a vat full of Snokes going, ugh. I'm like, I hate you. Well, why does he look like that if he's a clone?
The whole point is that Palpatine's supposed to be like the best manipulator there is. Because watching him corrupt Anakin over time was really effective. And he did a great job, especially because you didn't know he was evil for part of the movies.
But him corrupting people only works as a plot point if you get to see it.
Yeah.
We didn't.
But
which is why he's an iffy conclusion here.
But we saw him do it before. So if they convinced me that he convinced someone else, then I would believe it. You don't have to make clones. Just tell me that he convinced someone else to do the same thing. And I would just believe it. I don't need the stupid clone thing. Like, you don't need that. It's unnecessary.
Why is he can just be a person? Why isn't he just a person? Why does they show a vat of Snoke's?
Palpatine's like charming, and he speaks really in a really articulate way, and so he doesn't need to clone people. He can just convince people to do his shit for him.
Here's an extra.
That's what makes him cool.
This is metatextual, but here's an extra reason why the Snoke vat bothers me. See, there's a guy who did a few Star Wars novels and 2 of the novelizations, and he released he hated Last Jedi, so he released his like treatment of like how he would format the episode 9 if it was left to him, which of course it isn't. But among many things, he has to explain away how Rey is such a Mary Sue and too powerful. So like one of the things that happens to her is her head gets cut, and it's revealed that she's actually part droid, and that's why she's all superhuman. Like all these fucked up stupid things to explain how could a woman be strong? She must be cheating. Like these kinds of dumb things. And among other things, there are a series of Snoke clones in that shitty fan fiction. So seeing the Snoke clones show up in here, I'm like, no! Like, I was actually worried Rey was going to be revealed to be a droid, like in that shitty fiction that guy wrote.
I'm a droid.
It was already on the right track. It's already that Palpatine's already back. Palpatine made Snoke. Snoke's a series of clones. It was literally the plot points of the shitty fan fiction.
That's terrible.
And I'm like, no! And they did a lot. They did more parts of that than I want to admit, including completely sidelining Rey and sending Poe on semi-meaningless missions, and also heavily featuring C-3PO to the point where he's almost one of the main characters. These are all aspects of the shitty fan fiction that happened. And I'm like, oh no! Like, in both cases, C-3PO becomes like the most vocal character in the entire movie.
I was
even though he wasn't in the last
by
2
that.
movies.
I was very tickled pink by him in the second of the new ones.
Yeah.
Because I love C-3PO, he's my favorite. I like him better than R2-D2.
He has a great scene on the bridge.
But
like, this is highly against protocol and stuff like that.
He's adorable and great, and he doesn't fit into any situation he's in, which is what's so funny about him.
He should say like 3 things in a given movie because he doesn't fit.
Maybe
stuff.
they listen to people like me. They're like, oh, look at all these people who like C-3PO in this movie. Let's put him a ton in the next one, which kind of like ruins it. But the thing I hate is we're going to erase his memory to get him to.
And they bring his memory back after one scene.
They do.
It was pointless. But also, he's not in the rest of the movie, so him getting his memory back was also pointless.
Yeah, so they say we have to erase his memory to translate this knife that apparently you don't need the translation for because you could just use that little metal thing that sticks out to line up with the Death Star. The knife that just
tells them that they need to go to the place where
the Death Star.
They should have already been going when they looked for Palpatine, which is the last place he was seen.
And it has the little.
They never thought to go to the last place he was seen.
It has the little
scouring the galaxy.
It has the little silhouette of the place where they need to go, like you were explaining earlier.
He could be anywhere.
So it doesn't matter. He didn't have to read it. But the fact that they made me go through the emotional trauma of thinking C-3PO. Of basically killing C-3PO and then bringing him back.
What are you doing, 3PO? Just getting one last look at my friends.
And boy, I got misty for a second because I fucking don't like to think of C-3PO that way. How dare they make me think that he's going to be dead? And then they bring him back. Like, what's the fuck's the point?
Such a fake out.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me that fucking heart attack, you assholes.
It's so they could use.
I don't need that.
It's so they could use Red Eye 3PO in the trailers. If he's in the trailer with red eyes.
They could just have him
Is he a Sith 3PO?
They could just have him translate it and not erase his memory.
They could have just
make that a plot point.
They probably could have found anyone who could translate Sith holocrons or Sith glyphs.
Don't fuck with C-3PO.
When they took it away from him, they could have been like, "Oh, it's recorded in your brain. You mean? We just got to get him to write it down. He can't translate it, but can he transcribe it? And then we could translate it with somebody that can translate it. Yeah.
The fact that they were so willing to erase his memory just for that really bums me out.
Because droids don't matter to these people.
He's been around forever. He's seen all the original stuff. Yep. You're going to get rid of all of that for one line of map that you could just figure out yourself?
Here's a question for you.
What?
It's another thing that I don't understand. So I want to know if you understand it, because that helps help. Because if I don't understand it, it could just be my fault. But if we both don't understand it, then the movie's conveying its information very poorly.
Then we're both stupid.
So one thing, it keeps planet hopping, and it seems to think you're going to remember the name of every planet they visit.
No, because they're all new planets.
Because midway through the movie, they blow up a planet, and they're like sad about it. Like the characters are sad that planet blew up. What planet was that? Well,
I don't know.
An entire planet explodes in this movie, and everyone in the main cast is sad that place blew up.
I thought they were just sad because the planet blew up. Was it the gambling planet? Because they shouldn't be sad about that.
So we'll get to that.
I like the gambling planet.
We'll get to the fact that like this whole movie is really spiteful towards things that happened in Last Jedi. So the fact that they might have blown up the gambling planet would be if they no, I would have known. I would have recognized the name Canto Bight because I like that movie. So I would have remembered Canto Bight. There was not Canto Bight. But there was so much spite towards like in Last Jedi, he smashes the mask and it's all broken, and then spitefully J.J. Abrams finds every shard of that mask and reconstructs it. Like, no, we're keeping the mask. How dare you break it, Ryan? Like, there's so many moments like that in this movie that I wouldn't be surprised if they blew up Canto Bight just out of spite because people were mad at that, and that's why they Jar Jarred Rose and stuff like that. And what planet was that?
I don't know. But see, that's how little I care.
So
I don't know what planet it was. I don't care.
Of the movie not knowing what planet that was. The only clue
they didn't make me care.
The only clue I got was that at the end of the movie, Poe seems surprised that his love interest is alive. So I think that the shitty like Nazi Germany planet where they're going door to door and ruining everyone's lives all day, and then they loop and do it again. Apparently, like they keep doing it on loop because he's like, "Search the city again." That's just what they keep doing. I think they blew that one up. That maybe,
but apparently that one sucked. So, and the only two characters we met ended up surviving.
You should know what planet
they were in a spaceship together. So it was that chick and it was the little alien guy.
You should really know what planet blows up in a movie.
Oh, I will.
This is the thing that J.J. Abrams can only do wrong, while the original movie did it right. Because they're holding Leia there, and they're like, "We're going to blow up your home planet," and she's sad, and you're like, "Oh, I understand what the scene means." But like the other J.J. Abrams movie blew up 5 planets, and you're like, what does that mean? What are those planets? And then it happened again here, and it's like everyone's sad a planet blew up. And I'm like, I don't know what it was.
Well, when you first saw it happen, you're like,
Were
wow,
we there?
That's a big deal. That's a whole planet.
Yeah.
Like as an audience member, you're like, whoa, that's amazing. That's a whole planet.
Yeah.
So if you do that again and again, it really loses its potency.
So what's your one thing?
Oh, I just saying I like all the practical effects in all of these movies. Every time
I don't like.
Every time they use real life.
I don't like.
Every time they use real life puppetry, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for doing any of that because I like that stuff. And 1, 2, and 3 didn't have any of that at all. They replaced all the puppets with CG, and it broke my fucking heart.
I think they went too far.
Okay, let me hear your one.
So I think they went too far, and you might agree with me here. It might have bothered you too, for all I know. So I think that they're used to hearing people say practical effects or else, and so they wanted to make everything practical effects, which I get.
A good healthy mix.
But they took a CG character and turned it to a practical effect, I think, and it bothered me the whole movie. Remember the cool lady, the cool little alien with the goggles? That's in the first.
She wasn't a practical effect.
She looked fucked up. I don't know what's wrong with her.
Keith, she was bad CG.
Maybe she was cheap. Maybe.
But
she was also boring. She was so not boring in the first 2 movies.
She was boring. I don't think she was.
She's so shit in this movie.
I don't think she at any point was a practical effect in this movie.
And she also knows the plot, like she read the script. And also she ruins scenes by pre-explaining them. She literally says, "Oh, now Leia knows the only way to reach Ben is to use up the last of her energy, and that's all she'll have left. And then she'll die. This is the death of Leia. It's about to happen." And then it happens, and you're like, why did you explain that was going to happen? Were you afraid we forgot what happened in the last movie when Luke did it? That we're going to be like, we had to have a pre-explain, so we're not like, what's happening? Because she literally she spoils the death of Leia 5 minutes before the death of Leia happens, just verbatim. She just explains that entire scene. Remember like, what the fuck are you doing?
Remember how we first met her and we said, wow, she's really cool. Yeah. We hope that she ends up in the other movies. And in the second one, she was in it and she was awesome. She was even better in that one.
She has one of the funniest lines in the movie.
One little split second she was in it.
Wow, that guy sounds like he can do anything. Oh, he can.
Well, that got me to giggle. Yeah, like, he can do anything.
Like, that was like a little taste. Like,
and I was like, ooh.
You got an idea that she's going to be in the first movie a lot and then the last movie a lot. So in the middle, we're just going to have a little taste of her in this one hologram. And you're like, oh, she's great. Oh, I remember she's great. they had no goal for her. This movie doesn't use her at all. She's just there to spoil Leia's death and do nothing else in the movie besides watch her vanish.
Yeah.
What the fuck? You made her. JJ, you made her. Why didn't you have a plan for her?
All of the...
That's not a Rian Johnson character.
No.
JJ made that character and didn't have a plan for them.
All of these movies that have like a huge cast have the problem where when they wrap something up, they have to like include everybody in this last final thing, even if they have to like shoehorn them in.
Endgame did so much better at it. I know you can't understand that you didn't watch any of those movies, but Endgame did way better and it had a way bigger cast.
Fell asleep.
It just did better. It did have the advantage of killing half of them and then bringing them back.
Whatever. Even I'll admit that the Endgame final fight scene was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I woke up for that. And then I woke up for that, and then I finished the movie, and that was it. Don't hate me.
But hey, JJ had time to include two of his actor friends in the movie. He knows that.
Huh?
You probably haven't watched a lot of JJ stuff to know this, but there's two actors in this movie that he just uses a lot, so they're just there for no reason.
Who?
One of them is the guy that plays Pippin in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, no, I was like, why is he here?
Yeah, because he's from Lost.
No, I knew. Oh, I knew that. So that makes sense.
And Greg Grunberg, the chubby guy, he's most known for playing Parkman he plays the cop in Heroes.
Don't know that.
Yeah, in the Heroes series, he plays the cop.
I can't watch.
He's like one of the main characters.
I can't watch Heroes because Hayden Panettiere's in it.
He's the guy that could read minds and stuff like that. So he's in the pilot of Lost. He's the pilot of the plane. He's the literal pilot who dies in the pilot, and he's in every J.J. Abrams project pretty much. So he's in here to just be in the background of a bunch of scenes, say one line, and then at the end, he's one of the people you see die in the fight, in the big space battle. You see, I saw him die. I like Greg Grunberg from Heroes, so I just recognize him as a weird background actor here and there, because he just isn't in stuff that matters. But weird detail, because it's weird. It's just something that I remember because it's too specific to me. He's in a movie about giant spiders, which is a fun starting point.
Which one?
But the opening scene has "Where Is My Mind" by the Pixies in it.
Is it Eight-Legged Freaks?
No.
Which one is it?
It's a more recent one.
I love movies about giant spiders because I love the idea of giant spiders because I love spiders.
Greg Grunberg, see, I remembered his name. I never remember Pippin's name though.
No, I always remember because he has a cute little nose. It's this little snub nose, really cute. Jesus, he played the voice of the guy in Cloverfield Paradox. Oh no, I'm sorry. Wait, he's the driver in Star Is Born. I haven't seen that. Star Is Born. He's in The Flash. He's in Star Trek Beyond, though, and stuff like that. He's in J.J. Abrams things. He was in Heroes. I never watched Heroes Reborn. Does it look like it was garbage? Yeah, I never watched Heroes.
I'm trying to find the spider
movie.
He's
in CSI, I guess.
Greg Grunberg's in Big Ass Spider.
Ooh.
It's called Big Ass Spider. It opens with the Pixie song, Where Is My Mind? That's the only reason I remember it. He's the protagonist in a giant spiders movie. It was a comedy. It was I think I remember it being kind of entertaining. But
this is a movie I like called Fight Club, and it ends with that song. No one's ever heard of it.
How many ways did they shit on Rian Johnson in this movie? One was the mask, spitefully reconstructing it. One is they have a conversation about, we should do the Holdo maneuver. That's a 1 in a million. That'll never happen again. The Lightspeed scene that she did, that's Holdo, the purple-haired lady that did the dash.
She was specifically
awesome. Spend dialogue.
She was great. I liked her a lot.
They specifically spend dialogue spitefully downplaying that and being like, no, we're not doing that again. Like reassuring people, no, that's not part of the canon, don't worry. All the part about Rey's parentage being established, that like she comes from nothing, and that's part of what made her great. It's like, no, you're actually a Palpatine. You're not even a clone. I thought it might be she's a weird clone. That's why she comes from nothing. But she's literally just from Palpatine. They just lied. They just everything in Rian Johnson's movie is now just not true because they spitefully removed it all.
I was kind of disappointed because I thought that the whole thing is like, oh, your parents sold you so you'd be safe. But what I kind of would have liked better is if she thought her parents were good people. Oh. No, she like had faith that they were good, but in reality, they really just sold her for drug money.
Yeah, like
how they implied in the other movie,
like the end of the fucking world.
Yeah.
Which we both read now, and that's
and I actually watched the whole series.
Yeah,
you watched the whole series?
I haven't watched season 2 yet.
It's okay. It's okay.
But her dad's a piece of shit, and she had faith that he wasn't to some extent. I kind of like that harsh reality. And one of the more spiteful scenes in the movie, Rey destroys the Kylo's TIE fighter and is literally throwing wood at it to burn it more. And she throws her lightsaber, and Ghost Luke catches it and says, "This is a tool of a Jedi, and it deserves more respect than that." And I was like, "You better fucking wink. This better be like I'm kidding around, because Luke has a sense of humor, especially in that movie with his fucking leaf and stuff like that. Like he's joking, right? Like because it's mirroring what he did." No, because they're literally retconning him throwing the lightsaber in the previous movie by being like, "How dare you throw a Jedi lightsaber?" It's like,
he literally just
the fuck is wrong
in the last.
Yeah, he just threw it in the last movie.
Tried to throw it in the ocean. Which was like,
there's so many spiteful things in this movie,
which was kind of funny because you weren't expecting that at all.
I did like the payoff though of rewarding people for having noticed the X-wing. Because the X-wing was in the water in Last Jedi. There's only one shot that shows it. But it does show that he got there on his X-wing, and he specifically put it in the water to trap himself there or whatever. So when it rises up in this movie, it's like, that was there. They didn't just make that up. That was there the whole time, which is kind of neat. But I was just so mad that he caught the lightsaber. And it was fine that he said that. It was fine that he said that line, but he needed to follow it up with some kind of like crack a smile, wink, anything that's like he's just an ounce,
polite.
Just an ounce of self-awareness that he did that literally last movie, and that's where we are. But no, he's like, it's like, no, it's just J.J. Abrams being a shit, just being a shitty boy about just being mad about the last movie, and it's like,
this movie,
and he had the chance to direct the trilogy, he walked away from it. It's his fault the second movie wasn't under his control. I think he basically said that it was just too much. Like he didn't want to do more of these. But then he came back after this one. It's like, you can't be mad other people did stuff with the thing that they were given. And it's like nothing like after devil's advocates or slightly acknowledge what people say is that the criticism around Last Jedi is that they spitefully destroyed everything that was built up in Force Awakens, which you might be confused by that argument because you just watched them both and probably didn't think that, but that's the rhetoric going around, is that Force Awakens spitefully destroys everything that happened in Force Awakens, because they were so sure that they were setting up Rey's parentage and things like that, or that Snoke was important. So the fact that Snoke just dies is you're disrespecting Force Awakens and stuff like that. But this one was really actually spitefully doing stuff against Last Jedi, like Rose and things like that, and the things I just listed. It's it specifically is angry at Last Jedi to the point where I thought, that's why I said I wouldn't be surprised if they just blew up Canto Bight, because that'd be the next fucking middle finger. This is what that part of the fan base wants, that's so angry at Last Jedi. They would love to have Canto Bight get blown up in the middle of the movie.
Well, it's hard when you do something and then someone else comes around and does it better than you.
Which is what happened in the second movie.
Yeah.
It's so much better than the J.J. Abrams movie.
So he was probably just salty about it.
And so he shot himself in the foot out of spite by making an incoherent movie that has to spend half its movie with 5 years of fucking exposition just to spitefully retcon everything from the last movie. It's
I guess...
Oh, I'm sorry. We were talking about scenes we liked. We got one. I like the thruster scene where the thruster, it's the backfire of the air it's displacing knocks everybody back in the hangar bay. I'm like, oh, that's a great scene. And the two Jedi are able to withstand. Well, Kylo can withstand it. Rey is under the thruster, so it's not hitting her. And I'm like, that's an inventive visual. I like that visual. I also really liked the entire scene in the desert with the TIE fighter. Mm-hmm. Where Kylo charges her. I'm confused why he's doing it, because I thought he's trying to recruit her, but whatever. He charges her down. She does the cool jump and everything. Kylo eats shit like crazy. That thing rolls like a ball and then explodes.
Yeah, then he just walks out.
Yeah,
but then she thinks that she kills Chewbacca, which I was like, so they fake out killing C-3PO and they fake out killing Chewbacca too. They fake out killing Chewbacca.
I'm mad Chewbacca's not dead. and I know it's mean, but like that scene had the chance of being effective. It could have meant something, and instead it meant nothing.
Just don't do it at all. Just don't
it could have been someone else could have been there, or it could have just been something that was important was in there.
Yeah,
and she fucked
whatever.
it up. Like the dagger was in there because they got it, and then she fucks up and blows it up. That was a good scream, though. That scream of realizing she killed Chewbacca was like visceral and instant, and you felt it, and you're like, yeah, like it was such a shocked, high pitched Chewie, and but like the back and forth pull leading to the surprise lightning and explosion of the ship, it's like that was one of the most effective, like emotionally effective scenes in the movie. But then they defang it by being like, just kidding, no consequences, and that's like watching a movie where all of the most emotional scenes turn out to not mean anything means you'd never want to rewatch that movie.
I don't know what they would have to do to make that work, and that's fine. They can figure out some other way. Just don't you can't, because
that could have been a good scene, right? It was a good scene basically until they I would have been defanged the reason why it was important. They just needed to, like, anything else could have been there to make it important potentially, but like they made it not important. Han Solo,
just like I was literally just thinking the scene before that. Wow, it's really cool how Chewie's still hanging out with them even though Han Solo was dead. I was like a second before I was thinking about that.
He just gets captured off screen.
He's like a nice fit. He kind of reminds you of the original movies, but he's not like on the nose because he doesn't talk, because he just does Chewbacca noises.
And everyone,
so it's like to remind you that the original movies exist, but he's not like forcing you to be entrenched in that forever. He just kind of is like a healthy, friendly reminder. Huh?
That seems kind of like a microcosm of the whole thing, right?
It's just a touch of the old movies.
There's a kind of a hint of emotion for a moment, but it gets declawed and the context is removed. But also the scene is really confusing whenever anyone explains it. Because Chewie goes to find Rey, and then off camera gets captured.
Yeah,
and then Finn sees Chewie getting captured, but then off camera loses track of which transport it is, because there's actually two transports, and the other one has Chewie.
That was stupid.
A random mystery transport no one cared about is the one they're fighting over. It gets flown up, and it's like that scene is just as incoherent as every other part of the movie.
Well, they're in the desert.
Talking about
they're in the desert with like flat, barren landscape. How do you miss a second transport?
There's somehow a second one. And why was there two?
What was
that one transporting?
Why was there two?
Why did they even show up in the first place?
And the other thing is like, Kylo Ren's
were they just
Kylo
randos?
Ren says, I had to be there to have you show me your power or whatever. Like, what the fuck was he doing there? How did he know that she was going to blow up a spaceship? Like,
he tested her so that she would go over the boundary and accidentally blow it up.
I had to test you.
So he somehow knew it was going to happen.
So did he plan it? Did he try to trick her? How did he know it was going to happen that way? Did he even know that she had that power? She lightning bolted it. Is it because she's related to Palpatine? Is that a whole thing?
I don't know.
Also,
Palpatine's weak. He's in his bad state. And he's able to completely immobilize and overpower both of them, and they're completely at their mercy. But then they're able to defeat them in combat afterwards when he's stronger?
I didn't understand that at all.
Also, we talked about this earlier, so I gotta force myself to revisit a little bit, but the ending of Return of the Jedi is this big thing where Luke fully embraces let's say the Eastern mythology basis of the entire Force. That's kind of at the crux of Star Wars, where he refuses to fight Vader. He throws away his weapon, and he's just taking the bolts from Sidious. And then Vader looks back and forth, and there's a conflict in him, which is what Luke was hoping, because they're family and all that. And he sacrifices himself to kill Sidious, which so as far as we thought, and save Luke, and sacrifice himself, and then he has his redemption and all that. Cool. In this movie, when Rey is fighting Sidious and she's getting lightninged, she's like, actually, I have a second lightsaber. And then he loses, and it's like,
but why?
Oh,
what does that do?
That's the surprise reveal where she goes from struggling to winning, is she has the second lightsaber.
Wow,
just as emotionally evocative as the ending of all the other movies.
I did like how that when she was she like gets knocked down and it's like the end and she's watching everyone die, how like all the Jedi of the past talk to her in her brain, and you hear all the voices of like you hear everybody. You hear like Obi-Wan, you hear Yoda.
They just bring back as many actors
you hear,
as they could, 'cause they'll say Rey.
Samuel Jackson, whose name I don't remember now.
Mace Windu,
thank you.
I remember because I played Jedi Power Battles where you could play as him.
You just kind of hear all the different voices, and I was like, I'm a little touched by that. Like, that got me.
I was...
I like that Kylo and Rey kiss.
I like that it was set up.
Then he immediately dies.
Oh, Jesus. I knew it was going to happen, too.
Yeah.
I was so sure. I'm like, he's going to trade the power back into her, and then he's going to fall over dead.
Yeah.
He smiled for a second. All those Reylo shippers got their wish. Hooray.
It was cute.
One ship worked out.
It was it was a good kiss. It was a good kiss.
I can see why he'd die, because
the audience cheered.
When you're a mass murderer that took everyone out, like, it's really hard to redeem a character like that without sacrificing them.
Well, the whole point is that he redeems himself by sacrifice. Like, the only way you could redeem yourself is by being self-sacrificial.
Vader and Kylo sacrificed themselves to redeem themselves, because if they didn't redeem themselves by sacrificing themselves, it's real awkward if they would, like, come join the resistance, and it's like, yo, I killed hundreds of your friends. And
sorry.
Like, I don't... Like, there's going to be some
sorry,
of the, like,
I murdered all the younglings at one time, but we're friends now, right?
Yeah.
Sorry about the younglings.
It's actually a thing that's dealt with in Walking Dead that I find interesting, is that there's all these warring factions and tribes and groups of people that, like, are going at each other. And with one group, they take out their leader, and they're like, we can't just, like, slaughter all of them, right? We're supposed to be the good guys. So they try to incorporate them into their overall larger society and kind of shuffle up the people to sort of like do the thing where you kind of have like the forced desegregation, where everyone kind of becomes one incoherent blob of people. So they hopefully then all lose track of like what the previous factions were and just become a community and stuff like that. Like
the Sneeches.
But like there's a bunch of individual like storylines that happen over the course of it where it's like people that won't let old wounds go away and stuff like that, and they're targeting each other because of what happened before in the war and stuff like that. Like, and it's kind of what would happen in this, is like, it's really hard to, like, if Vader or Kylo didn't die, it'd be really hard to like redeem them. They'd have to like go into, at most they'd have to go in, at best they'd have a future of like going into exile, where they're like another anonymous face that just goes into like cantinas and shit like that, and like one of those random people you see, because they can't knowingly join the resistance and people know who they are. No one would ever forgive them. So many people would be like, excuse me? Because this is the thing that I hate in a lot of fiction that comes up, and it's also a lot of reality, is that big factions fight and fight and fight, and then the people at the top of the group are somehow like, their lives are more sacred. This is the thing that always bothers me. Like, it happens in Mass Effect. It happens a lot in video games, especially. You fight through all these goons, kill dozens or hundreds of people because video games communicate their stories through violence and murder. Yeah. Then you get to the smug guy sitting in his chair in his suit and shit, and you like negotiate with him, and maybe you don't kill him, and it's like, you killed all of his people, but you're questioning whether to kill this guy because he's the character, and it's like that part of stories always bothers me, and it would bother me if like somebody like that, like, he has personality, so he matters, because the other people, you didn't have a chance to talk to them, so they're just nameless goons. It'd bother me if a character like that like just like join the resistance and everything's fine now. It's like, no, super not fine. No. Do you have any other scenes you liked? I think I named all the ones I liked already. Oh no! Oh wait. No, we both liked the scene where they pass off the sword. Yeah, that was cool. Like, I hated basically the entire ending, but the one part I liked was Kylo breaking in and fighting what looks like might have been the Knights of Ren, and he doesn't have a weapon, and Rey passes him the lightsaber through their connection thing. So they keep playing. I liked how earlier in the movie they play off that throughout the entire whatever with them, and they have visions of each other and they talk, which is when you learn they're like not that much different from each other. But they kind of play with that with like physical objects, where he reaches and he grabs her necklace and then it breaks in real life.
Like in her
it's
reality,
getting stronger, yeah.
So because they're actually able to like reach into each other's.
It doesn't even just break. He rips it off of her, and they analyze it to find where she is.
Yeah,
so it becomes a liability in a new way.
He goes like, "Oh, that's where you are."
Yeah,
he knows where she is now. Mm-hmm. But they play with that.
Yeah, because it happened again when they broke the Vader helmet podium.
Yeah.
Because the helmet showed up in his reality, and then he knew where she was.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, so she breaks the podium, and he sees it in his reality. He's not on his own ship, and when he sees the podium that's in his room, he knows that she's in his room, which is cool, really cool.
That's a neat mechanic.
And I like how they play with that a little bit, where they have physical objects going through their visions. And so at the end, when he's fighting and you think he's completely fucked because he's fighting these people without a weapon, she's supposed to be killing Emperor Palpatine to like take his to like become the next evil emperor, I suppose.
Yeah, he just
using violence, because the whole point of like Jedis is that they don't use violence.
He makes a really dumb mistake of explaining his plan.
He's like, "You'll kill me."
She was like ready to kill him, and he's like, "If you kill me, then my soul will possess you." And it's like, and that's what I want. It's like, what do you wanted? Why did you explain that? Because she was ready.
Let her do it. She was gonna kill you.
She was ready to do it, but then she's like, "Oh no, I have to believe this thing he's saying," even though he kills him.
So now,
even though she kills him later, and it doesn't matter.
So it's kind of it's highlighting the we have to go with nonviolence. That whole we're gonna try to go with nonviolence. That whole adage.
But Kylo's action scene was one of the better fight scenes in the thing, and also the pass off of the sword was
neat, so he's fucked, and then he like she like reaches the lightsaber that she's supposed to be killing Emperor Palpatine with, and then he pulls it out in his scene, which is somewhere else, and fights with it, which is pretty good. I liked all those scenes where they're talking to each other.
It was too forced, unfortunately, though. For me, the fact that she had the two lightsabers there was neat, but the mechanics behind why she had two lightsabers there was really awkward, because she exiles herself for 2 seconds on Luke's planet, where he's like, "I have a special gift for you. I've had this lightsaber secretly behind this rock this whole time, because me and Leia have been training all this time." It's like another element of trying to one up Rian Johnson, because Rian Johnson was like, "Leia gets to use the Force as one last hurrah of the dead actress. Isn't this great?" And they're like, "Well, actually, this CG Luke and CG Leia both used to duel all the time. They've done tons of Star Wars stuff all the time. And this was her lightsaber, because she has a lightsaber, by the way. It was behind this one rock in this one building." Then they give her the lightsaber, and you need to take this with you because it's part of your destiny. For some reason, you need it on this mission, I guess. Now you got two lightsabers, Rey. They told her to bring both, like, for some reason.
They say something about her being the new Leia. Like you have to fulfill Leia's journey, but it's like Leia that wasn't really what she did. She went off and did other things. They completely changed. She did a bunch of things on her own. She doesn't have to like be fulfilled by anyone else.
They replaced Leia's entire purpose in this movie with a boringer one, because she was perfectly
like
cool in
General
Last Jedi.
Person.
And as she was already General Leia, and she happens to be Force sensitive. She's got like a couple of tricks she can kind of pick up here, and it's like, and she can wow us with those here and there. But then it's just like, no, here's young Leia with young Carrie Fisher face, the one they made for Rogue One. That was always off-putting then too.
This was weird.
And she's apparently been dueling Luke and Yavin 4 with live lightsabers, which I don't recommend, using the fully lit lightsabers for fun duels. And this is her lightsaber. We're going to pass it on to you. We're going to mechanically just make you take it with you into the ending, even though you don't have a reason to, because you don't know that for some reason Kylo threw his lightsaber into the ocean because he felt symbolic that day, and so he's going to need a second lightsaber later. So we're going to have you take two lightsabers, even though you don't know why, because it's the script needs it. The script needs two lightsabers.
See, this movie was such a mess that when he didn't have until right now, when Kylo Ren didn't have a lightsaber at the final fight, I forgot why he didn't have one.
You forgot that he just threw it into the ocean.
Yeah, because I forgot he threw it into the ocean like half an hour earlier.
I guess
for no reason.
Yeah, I'm like, I guess it's symbolic, but like you can have a red lightsaber. It's okay.
I forgot that until this second, right now, when Keith mentioned it.
Mace Windu had a purple lightsaber. People just have lightsabers. Rey ends the movie with an orange one. It's fine. And it was a cool lightsaber. It had the cross guard.
But the fact that I don't remember that shows how little emphasis they put on something that was supposed to be important.
Well, I'm gonna have to side against you on that one. It was emphasized. It was the Harrison Ford scene. That was pretty emphasized, actually.
No, okay.
He's because Harrison Ford's like, I love you, I forgive you, I miss you, all that stuff, and then he finally.
I remember that part.
Yeah,
but like the whole.
Then he throws the lightsaber into the ocean. And he turns back and he's gone.
Yeah, but
I can't say it wasn't emphasized.
But like half an hour passes.
The mechanics of replacing his lightsaber are really awkward because they have to retcon a whole history for Leia, so that now there's two lightsabers in the picture, because otherwise there wasn't enough lightsabers in the lightsaber.
There was
economy.
A half an hour of random other shit in between those two moments, and also, so I forgot because a whole bunch of other things happened that were super unrelated and also confusing.
Several scenes happen just to establish the existence of a second lightsaber, so that Adam Driver can use it in one scene and then lose it again, because then they go back to one lightsaber anyway because he gets thrown in a hole.
I was gonna watch Marriage Story.
And they couldn't just throw him back in the hole and let the symbolism ride. Fucking Sidious had to be like, ha ha ha, you will fall just as I did, and he throws him down a hole just like he did. I'm like, we didn't have to say it out loud. We get it. You could use visual storytelling without spelling it out. Like how, like I said, in the final fight on the Salt Planet, light is above dark. Nobody spells that out. It's just the floor is red. The sky, in the throne room, the sky was red, and then it burns away. And then in the final fight, the floor is red and the sky is white.
And not even just to...
No one says it out loud.
Not even just to mention on like a completely unrelated aspect, just how gnarly of a visual that was. Even if it had no symbolic meaning whatsoever.
How great the Salt Planet was.
The direction of visual was... super on point.
That place,
just even if it had no symbolic meaning at all, the fact that they had it to where when all the ships would fly over the landscape, it would pull plumes of red out of the earth.
Because they use it on several levels.
So beautiful.
First you have Leia. First you have the call back to Empire Strikes Back, where you have Leia looking down under a blast door into a white planet. Like the beginning of Empire. Then that one cool looking general looking dude that never comes up again because he's not actually a character, but he looks cool for that one scene, walks across the salt and he's leaving red footprints.
And you think it's blood.
And then
that's what you'd think normally.
He's like, who the fuck's this guy? Why has he got blood footprints? Then all those things cruise out lines of red.
Well, but the guy's like, oh, no, it's salt. Like he actually mentioned, it's salt.
Yeah.
It's okay, so yeah, we understand now it's salt. Yeah. It's not blood.
And all those speeders are doing streaks of red towards the thing. It's like, that's fucking rad looking.
It looks great.
And then all the AT-ATs all blast Luke, and a giant red cloud comes up. Well, and as a result, the whole area is completely cleared, so that when they fight Kylo, it's just a red glass looking floor, and it's like they've milked the fuck out of that planet for visuals.
The other purpose of that, you could say, was because they're on this big flat plane of land. It's like to imply speed and then also movement, because if you're looking down at this scene with no other visual objects for like point of reference, you need to know how distant these objects are from each other and how fast they're going. So using like the plumes of smoke is actually a really effective way of conveying this, but having it be visually simple enough to be able to follow the fight scene that's happening without having other visual elements in the fight that you have to use for points of reference.
That was also the same planet that had the crystal cave, because that was just a beautiful planet that they kept doing cool things with, and it has the little foxes.
See, so yeah, I like all the critters. I like seeing critters and weird aliens in the background, especially when they're practical effects.
This movie couldn't be on a planet for 5 minutes.
No,
so it had to just go.
No,
we didn't even get to fully see critters.
No.
They land on the desert planet. There's two weird looking critters at the front of the screen, and they don't even turn around.
Remember when
we never see them again?
What
were those?
Remember when Rey was...
There's a Wikipedia article about those now, and they don't have a face.
Remember when Rey was hanging out with Luke, and Luke introduced us to like 5 aliens in like 2 seconds? But they go through his daily routine, and he catches a fish, and you see a sea monster, and then you see this weird cow creature with 4 very human-like titties.
Milk, and it stares at you when you milk it.
See, I liked that because in 2 minutes I saw, like, I understood, and then they had little villagers.
You saw his whole daily routine.
Villagers on the island, and I understood everything. It had
4 little villagers to get the cart blown out. And Rey's just spitefully following him all day, and he's spitefully ignoring him.
There's some exposition there, and it's just implied, and you don't need to ask any other questions. I don't, it's like, I get it. He just lives there. I understand what his whole life is like. And it's effective, and it was fun.
We had time to establish a character's routine in that movie.
Yeah, in 2 minutes.
Because it had a script that wasn't written by lunatics that wanted to write...
no dialogue.
Fit 4 books into a single movie.
It was very effective.
This movie just wouldn't chill. It had no chill. It just kept going. You just spend 5 minutes on each planet.
The pacing is terrible. Editing is really bad. It was visually confusing. Things didn't have the meaning that they didn't have, like, a weight. Nothing had weight as far as meaning goes. Like, nothing felt like it was important. Things were retconned a lot. It was just a mess, and they kept trying to, like, milk nostalgia, but then also, like, put it in with this, like, pile of, like this pool of mediocrity around it, to where it really downplayed all the moments where I was supposed to feel cathartic about these things that are supposed to be nostalgic for me. They put it in this, like, mud pile of other things I don't care about, and so I had to, like, seep through this and find the little gems of things that made me feel something. And when I found them, it's like I had to wade through more mud to get to the next one.
It wasn't easy. I was interested in seeing how Horse Lady was going to play as a character.
She wasn't even a character.
She didn't have a personality, and I don't know her name, and I don't know who she was.
Poe and Finn never make out, so thumbs down from me. That's all I wanted for Christmas.
You only know these characters for 2 days, and you already want them to fuck.
I just want to watch cute boys make out in a AAA movie.
They're some of the only characters in the entire trilogy that has chemistry with each other. Oh, another thing that made me angry. I just remembered a thing that made me angry.
Okay. Oh no, Keith, what made you angry?
They killed Hux.
Oh yeah,
they killed Hux really flippantly to replace him with boring characters.
Yeah.
First of all, we were 2 movies deep. Hux is clearly the leader of the New Order under whoever's the Sith. Like, it's the Sith people, then Hux.
Yeah.
Like, Snoke says,
"This is why I keep this sniveling little shit in command, because he comes up with these things."
because he's all like, you're disappointed, and you slam your face in the ground, asshole. And then he's like, no, I've got them caught on the end of a string, because he's this little scoundrel that always has something. He's always doing something, even though he seems like a little shit.
Remember,
and he's conniving, and he's supposed to be a careful and creative and capable character, despite all the emasculating shit that happens in every movie. And to be clear, he's also not a Rian Johnson character. He's a J.J. Abrams character. He's doing that fucking Nazi speech while they shoot the mega laser that blows up 5 planets. That's Hux. So who the fuck are these other guys that show up that are now leading the New Order and murder Hux and don't have personalities or names that I can think of?
Wait, but
I don't know who they are.
Isn't one of them one of them's a throwback to the old days?
One of them might be someone who was served under Palpatine.
Yeah, no, one of them's a throwback.
I don't know where he came from.
I don't know.
He just shows up. There's a part where he looks at somebody else and talks to him, and it does a reverse shot back to him. And I'm like, oh, I thought the first one was him, because they look so similar, and I don't know who these characters are. Because Hux has a recognizable face. He's got red hair. We spent 2 movies with him. This movie kills him immediately, and it's like, goodbye, Hux. I want to replace you with these other useless characters that never do anything anyway, so they could have just been Hux, who is a more entertaining character, and we know who he is. Like,
well, they had some dumb, like, at the very beginning, they're like, oh, someone here is a spy. But they throw it in for, like, a second. Like, one, like, literally, like, 1 second.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's like,
the spy.
I'm the spy. And he's
just spying out of spite. He just wants to fuck with Kylo Ren. And little does he know, Kylo Ren's also betraying the New Order. So, like, he died for nothing.
For nothing.
He died for nothing. And he died really callously, even though he's one of the best characters. And
he gets caught immediately after doing his only spy thing,
and like I said earlier,
immediately gets caught, gets shot, instantly dead.
Yeah,
that's
one of the problems this empire has always had. It has like a lack of recognizable people and villains.
Oh yeah, well that guy that Palpatine brings back is an old villain.
Yeah, but I don't know him.
I recognize him.
You recognize him?
Yeah,
because you watched the movie 100 times.
Yeah,
but like for me, as somebody who just watches them a few times each. Throughout the whole Star Wars saga, there's often a struggle with making enough recognizable villains that aren't just the Sith. The Empire is often just like a vague mush of bad guys. And Hux solved the shit out of that. And then they just were like, I don't want Hux anymore.
So it wasn't great, but he was memorable.
He was 1 gunshot away from taking over the New Order at the end of Last Jedi. He was going to kill Kylo when he was down, and he was going to take over the New Order. And then in the next movie, they just delete him, and I'm like...
Well, It's just kind of a lack of like they kind of set up this potential they didn't do anything with.
No,
which was kind of a shame.
And he's a JJ character, so why is he so resentful to this character?
And I got kind of excited when he was the spy. Like I got excited for a minute. I was
thought he'd be in the rest of the movie.
That might be something important that might come up and be interesting. And nope,
they just kill him off immediately.
Like the very next scene that he's in, very next scene, they instantly realize he's a spy and they kill him immediately.
They literally only establish the concept of a spy to kill Hux.
They don't do anything. They just wanted to
kill Domhnall Gleeson for some reason.
What's funny is that they don't even need. If they didn't want him to be in the movie, just don't put him in the movie. Put him in the background or something. Like I don't know why you even had to kill him. What's the point?
I don't know why.
What was the point of a lot of this?
I like Hux.
What was the? If I took the meat of this movie,
he's the only established new order, new empire, new order. He's the only established character in the entire New Order, and they're like, we don't need characters. I just need plot. So kill the character, leave the plot.
Yeah. Keith. Oh my gosh. If I took the meat of this movie, I feel like it would take like...
We could spend a long time on this.
No, like 30 minutes would be like the movie.
Oh, you mean... I thought you meant us digging into the movie.
If I cut out all the pointless things, I could probably do this. This movie probably would be like 45 minutes.
Yeah, because it's a weird MacGuffin chase, which is...
If I cut out all the nostalgia, which is just there for nostalgia, that they don't do anything with.
Did we have MacGuffins before?
Can you define a MacGuffin?
The thing where you have like a special thing everyone wants because it does the magic problem-solving thing. Like Marvel movies have a lot of these. You gotta get the Infinity Stone and stuff like that.
I don't think they had any in the other movies. It's just
the two J.J. Abrams movies, I think. Because the other J.J. Abrams movie, they gotta get the map for Luke.
Oh yeah,
it's like it's J.J. Abrams is like he can't
the pointless map that they could have figured out themselves really easily.
And in both cases they need to find a place via MacGuffins, and MacGuffins point to a thing they probably could have figured out without the MacGuffin.
Really easily.
But people like potentially died getting it. Did you like the part where there's the biggest blockade of deadly ships you've ever seen in the history of Star Wars? A fucking checkerboard grid of Star Destroyers with planet-killing lasers on them. All these X-Wings come flying in at them. They're like, oh shit. And it's like, I'd be like, oh shit too. And then none of them get shot. They're like, get down to the level where you get down to their altitude and they can't shoot us without shooting at each other. One, none of them get shot on the way there. And also none of the ships shoot each other. So that entire scene is like all the dialogue doesn't set up any stakes, and like the giant fleet of Star Destroyers doesn't shoot anybody, and they just zoom past them, and then you cut away to like Rey or something.
You know,
like that's when you kill Matt Parkman.
It's one of those you got to build stakes situations. I think like a lot of these movies have a hard time having these fight scenes on a big scale and having a lot of people die but having it mean anything, because obviously a lot of people die that you don't know.
Yeah, which
is why I think in the older movies, or the most effective way of doing this is having them have banter between each other as they're fighting, so when they start failing you feel like you kind of already like some of them. Mm-hmm. So like back in the day,
not Porkins.
Yeah, like so like back in the day, you just have like the people talking to each other. You just have like the face cam, and you have them talking. And they all look different. They're all aliens. Yeah. Like half of them are aliens, half of them are people, and they have like, oh, like we have banter because we know each other. Like, remember that one time where that happened? Haha. Like, and we
can't even keep continuity. Like,
and they like succeed for a minute, so they have this banter, and they're like, woohoo, you know, we're celebrating. And then when they start dying, you actually kind of care a little bit.
What happened to Finn's friend? I mean, sorry, Poe's friend.
Who?
So Poe has a squad of people that all fly with him, right? And there's that one really recognizable alien. He's also in the mutiny. Like, he has that one alien guy hold Hodo at gunpoint while he goes off to the bridge to do the plan. And he's also in every single flying piloting scene throughout Last Jedi. And he's just not in this movie. Instead, a weirder orangutan-looking fuzzy man shows up instead, and also a tiny baby Admiral Akbar.
Yeah, that.
Speaking of spiteful things,
I thought that was weird.
Yeah, there's a baby Admiral Akbar.
He's got bigger eyeballs.
Like, fuck off, JJ. But I'm like, Poe had like a couple recognizable people with him, and they're just not in this movie. I don't remember him dying in Last Jedi.
Sometimes just having those weird background people consistently around and having them die is kind of all you really need to imply that there are stakes.
Like Luke has a whole chat with that one squad member of his right before that ATST scene where they crash and and his co-pilot dies. So you recognize that person and you're like, oh no, that guy's dead, as opposed to like
I kind of like that guy
who never does anything in this movie, and then he dies during that one action scene and you didn't even notice. And then the chubby guy died.
I think there's a lot in this movie I
only recognized him because I knew who he was.
Like I said, I fell asleep during it.
That's not a good sign for a Star Wars movie. It's like your favorite franchise.
It's not my favorite franchise.
It's not?
Nope,
not
even close. It wouldn't even be before.
What's your favorite franchise?
I actually like Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings is pretty good. How do you feel? Oh no!
What?
How do you feel about Hobbit? We might have to talk about that one day.
Or did
you avoid that?
I already told you I don't watch those. I didn't watch them. Nope, didn't watch them.
That's good. They're really bad.
I knew they would be.
The first one's okay, and the next two are really, really bad. The third one's embarrassing.
I'm not joking when I say I don't watch reboots or remakes or anything, because I have no faith, and I've never been proven wrong. It's always bad, and so I didn't watch the Hobbit movies.
Well, it's the exception that proves the rule.
What is it?
Fury Road.
But you know what, though? I don't have a big connection with the original ones.
No, I've never watched any of them.
See?
All I know is it's just a really good movie, and it's technically some kind of revisit from decades later. It's not a reboot necessarily, because none of the movies necessarily had continuity that much or whatever.
I guess
but also,
what defines a reboot?
Also, Hobbit's not a reboot, because it's just the adaptation of the other book. Badly.
I like the cartoon one. There's an old cartoon one that was...
Oh god, with the singing dwarves. Perhaps. I grew up watching I had the Hobbit and I had Lord of the Rings, but I never had a Return of the King. Because Lord of the Rings animation with the rotoscoping and stuff was only the first two books, and then there was a Return of the King animation that was done by the Hobbit people. So, I watched the Lord of the Ring one over and over and over again with all this weird, like, they filmed people and drew over them scenes, or was how they did all the action scenes. Like, it's really archaic and kind of fascinating to look at, but it made the ring race really scary. They're really creepy in that movie.
A lot of anime uses rotoscoping.
They're so uncanny.
It's notorious.
Yeah.
But
feelings about this movie. Things I liked. That guy never matters. No, he never matters. Oh, the new robot. I like him. He never does anything in the entire film.
No. Right?
Oh wait, no, there's a plot reveal. Off camera, he tells Finn that he's like Rey's parents' robot or something. And that's why Finn's like, oh my god, this was the ship that was going to Sith planet with Rey's parents. That was the reveal. That's the reason. He's adorable though. And he was like he's a rescue. He's our first droid rescue.
Oh,
so he's like,
I adopted him.
Like she reaches out towards him and he's like, no, thank you. And he rolls back and he's like, this droid was abused. And I'm like, we're getting like abused dogs canon as part of droids. And
that's kind of cute. That was kind of cute.
It's like cute, but also creepy and unfortunate. I'm like, I don't like thinking about that, but also it's really.
I don't like thinking about droid abuse.
I mean, it was on camera in the previous movies, but it's still like the idea that it's like an emotionally abused droid is a little distressing to think about. I didn't know that was a possibility, that they could have trauma. I didn't need to know that necessarily. But yeah, this movie establishes that droids have trauma. The
problem that I had is that since I fell asleep for 10 minutes, any questions I had about the movie, I assume were crammed into that 10-minute scope, but I guarantee they weren't. Because that robot...
You can fill in, because I'm also compromised. I used the restroom for 2 seconds. So Ray got it.
Scene, the robot scene you just talked about, I was like, was that in the 10 minutes I fell asleep? Because I couldn't remember why that robot was relevant.
Yeah, but do you remember the scene where Finn talks to it and then it cuts away and then he comes running in and it's Finn and Poe are like, I got something to tell you. No, I got something to tell you. Yeah, that was the reveal. That's all it was. You missed it because it was off camera.
That's why I thought I fell asleep during it, because I didn't even notice it.
Why can't you let the robot say things? So I used the restroom briefly. It was when Rey cruises in on her glider into the ruins. I'm like, this will take a moment. I can run away and I'll just miss some special effects of her going through this aesthetic. I come back and she's dueling Kylo Ren and he blows up the thing in his hand. I'm like, that was fast. then the scene's over. I'm like, what did I miss?
I don't even know what scene you're talking about.
You know when he's like,
what thing?
If you want to find the Sith, if you want to find Palpatine, you'll do it with me. And he blows up the pyramid thing. That he breaks the pyramid thing.
Yeah.
What did how did that fight start? I guess because it went fast. Apparently, like it just came and went. Also, by the way, she spends like half this movie lightsaber fighting Kylo Ren. Like in a series of dreams, which admittedly, cutting back and forth between two locations during one fight looks cool.
It does, yeah.
But I was really like, I was kind of bothered how it felt kind of pointless how much of the movie is spent with them lightsaber fighting. But yeah, I missed that scene up until that moment. I don't know what I missed, but
that's the one with Han Solo.
Yeah,
and he throws that's the beginning of that one, right?
Yeah, well, it's the beginning of the giant fight where she ends up stabbing him and everything.
Yeah,
but like. So I saw him break it, but I don't know how they got there. And I'm like, this is important.
I don't remember. You didn't miss much.
You don't remember the
You missed like Keith was literally gone for like a minute and a half.
Did you ever see Rey with a double-sided red lightsaber?
No.
So
a double-sided red lightsaber?
Yes.
Yes. Darth Maul?
So they showed teaser images of her with a double-sided lightsaber. In particular, both hilts face the same direction, so there's two parallel beams, and then she shakes it, and then it folds out into like a bow staff, like Darth Maul. And so she had that, and she had a hood on and everything, and that was supposed to be in the movie somewhere. And what happened is when I was walking back into the theater, they said, "Don't be afraid of who you are," which is quoting the thing that Leia said to her earlier. And so I thought that, oh, is she fighting Dark Link? like I thought, I was like, oh my god, did I miss Rhea fighting Dark Link? Like I thought Rhea had to fight Dark Rhea or something, and I must have missed that scene because I never saw her with a double-sided red lightsaber. There's only one tiny particle, so it might have been really disingenuous trailering. When she has that vision, that rapid, at the beginning of the movie, she has a vision that has like a bunch of rapid-fire images. For just a second, it shows her with the the double-sided red lightsaber for like a half second. And if that's the only time it shows up in the entire movie, that's fucked up. They put it in the trailer, but they also put Red Eye C-3PO in the trailer. So trailers are just bullshit in general.
That's really sad. It's really sad that I don't remember something like that. I remember that scene. I can't tell you right now how it even started. I don't remember how they got there. It happened in like a minute.
Yep.
That's really depressing. I've never fallen asleep during a Star Wars movie like in theaters ever.
Not even the bad ones.
Even the ones I've seen, honestly,
because they're thrilling. They're supposed to be thrilling, but when they're exhausting, they can't be thrilling. In theaters,
like I never fall asleep during any of them.
Like if you guys have sat through this and haven't watched the movie. If you guys watched Suicide Squad,
I care so little.
That opening 30 minutes of Suicide Squad that's just going too fast and your head hurts, that's the entire movie. There's only like 2 scenes where the movie slows down and breathes for a bit, and one of them is the desert scene, and one of them is the ending, I guess. But almost everything else is just going so fast, and they have so much, and they've plugged it with 50 new characters for some reason that don't do anything, so why are they there? And
all I know
it's good they had to give them a case of the not gays, so they introduced more characters.
Yeah, they were never gay, Keith. I don't know what you're talking about.
Just let Poe and Finn kiss in a nice cutaway scene that you can edit out of the Chinese version because you're cowards.
Please. Yeah, you coward.
That's definitely what they did when they let that other lady kiss somebody for half a second.
It was literally half a second. It was not even whatever. They're just Disney.
Wait,
you're breaking my heart. Oh, Dio. He voiced Dio.
Oh no, is that who that was?
Yeah, that was the little robot that you like.
No, it's ruined. It's ruined because he's voiced by J.J. Abrams. Now I hate him.
J.J. Abrams voices the little robot that Keith likes.
No,
whose name is Dio, by the way, which I kind of got a kick out of because I like Dio.
Oh no, he's voiced by J.J. Abrams. No.
What?
Metaphor. Bad J.J. Abrams.
Dio was abused, but it's okay because you're with us now.
No.
Like the fan base that's mad at fucking Last Jedi.
No, Keith, you're reading too far into that.
It's back in J.J. Abrams' hands now. The character's even played by J.J. Abrams. He means that.
No.
He means that. That's on purpose. Oh no.
I don't think so.
No, that's nope. There's too many other spiteful signs in this movie for it to not be that.
Stupid.
Because he's feeding into the fucking fan backlash with the Last Jedi. So he literally has a character who doesn't do it, who otherwise doesn't matter in the movie. That is his self-insert character. That's all that symbolizes the idea of being abused, but being in good hands now, because Star Wars was out of J.J. Abrams' hands for one movie and now is back in his hands. So you're safe now. Star Wars is safe. Oh
no! I don't think
even voiced by him.
And that's a cute. It's cute. It's a cute thought.
No, people do this on purpose. That kind of thing.
That's a little excessive.
You're right. I'm giving him too much credit.
Yeah, I think it's too much credit.
Only Rian Johnson knows how to do themes. JJ doesn't do themes.
That'd be really petty, though. I kind of hope that is true, because that'd be really petty. You know, that'd be funny.
By the way, I can't blame this on JJ, but speaking of themes, remember how famously Game of Thrones completely fell apart? You can't avoid hearing about that because what everyone says about one of the creators said that themes are for 8th grade book reports in an interview. Oh no. They let him handle the biggest franchise.
I think he's making some sort of smart ass joke.
I don't know about that. That's a really shitty line to say.
Themes kind of happen whether you mean them to or not. Important. Themes happen. Anything that you make that has any kind of opinion has a theme in it.
But if you're not thinking about the themes, then you can get some really bad. I just realized what's at the bottom of our page right now. See all those credits? They were in this movie.
Who?
The Knights of Ren.
Oh.
I just got to the part where there's 6 cast members that are credited as being the Knights of Ren.
Then yeah, I guess so.
I think the people that Adam Driver fought at the end of the movie were the Knights of Ren. The best I had to go on, because by the way, all those action scenes by the end are ruined by being dark as fuck. So you can barely see what's happening in them. But I vaguely kind of caught the glimpse of like a horizontal grill. Like they're wearing a black mask, but they have like silver looking like horizontal lines that are all parallel with each other, which vaguely look like the aesthetic of Kylo's helm. Yeah. Like he has those sort of silver highlights everywhere.
I thought that was the point at first.
So I'm like, are all of those the Knights of Ren that were name dropped once in Force Awakens then never came up again? Because if that's the case, that's a way more... First of all, how are the Knights of Ren there? Aren't the Knights of Ren loyal to Kylo Ren? So you would think that, like... how are they already all at Sidious's place? And how do they know to go there? And they're all loyal to Sidious over him. And, like, how do the Knights of Ren work? Because they all specifically betrayed Luke for Kylo because they were loyal to him. But now they're all fighting for Sidious. They're killing Kylo, so Kylo has to fight them. And, like, I don't know. They're never characters, so we don't ever know what they were. Like, setting them up was stupid. But it at least would have been more satisfying if the Knights of Ren were just the red dudes in Last Jedi. Because they get a really cool scene. And that's just a way better scene than the one where Adam Driver just repeatedly stabs them in the back. He keeps jumping behind them and backstabbing them in the same way, which is kind of unfortunate compared to Rian Johnson's way better action scene where cool shit happens the whole time. I don't know.
If
the Knights of Ren are there though, J.J. Abrams remembered to put them in for a second.
Only create as many references and plot points that you can handle, okay? Don't be name dropping and adding all this dumb shit if you're not doing anything with it.
That's one of
my biggest pet peeves.
With J.J. Abrams?
No, just in general. Convoluted whatnot.
That's his thing. So he gave a TED talk about the mystery box.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, where he discusses his magical mystery box, where the questions are more important than the answers. And you want to devise the mystery of what's in it.
Where's the magical answer box?
And it's like, what a special coincidence that the guy talks about his mystery box and also
never finishes any.
He's also coincidentally play the guy that just starts fires and runs away and lets other people deal with it. Because he started and ran away from, like, I think Fringe and Lost and Star Wars originally.
Where's
and
the plot resolution box?
Yeah. It's like, wow, it's great that you have a philosophy about causing problems for other people. Thanks for this writing style, asshole.
Irresponsible.
You'll notice that we're basically not talking about Finn and Poe, which is a problem because it's supposed to be like a trio of protagonist characters. And what did they do in this movie?
Nothing. There's nothing worth talking about with them, to be honest.
But what did they do in Last Jedi?
What?
That's what I mean. Like, they had like these fantastic arcs, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
Because like,
sorry, I got the names. I'm getting the names of the movies confused. So
oh, right.
I don't know which one you're referring to.
No, you can't tell what movie I'm talking. Because you watched all three movies in like 48 hours.
Well, yeah.
So you don't know which one's which. But like,
I said, is that the good one?
Yeah.
Okay. Then yeah, they did a whole bunch of stuff in that one.
Because like Poe has the starting thing with the like recklessly risking everything for glory, and then the whole through line of like withholding information because he's the protagonist and he's gonna do the big plan and they just don't understand and they'll stop him if they find out. So he's gonna take charge of all this information and like all this, like that whole through line. And then like and Finn has this whole thing, and like they're really well done storylines, and you also, rather importantly, can remember what they were. And this one, it's like,
no, I loved the little.
It's like what they do throughout the movie.
No, I mean they.
At one point, they both just vanish back to the forest again. You're like, oh, they went back, I guess. And they become bro generals, where they're co-generaling the entire resistance because they're next in line.
Awesome.
Apparently. But like that barely matters, and especially Finn. Like, I don't think ever gives a command. But it's like, part of the problem is that like because neither of us can say what was happening at the end, so that's kind of a problem because that's what both those characters were doing, and also the entire supporting cast was doing, and we're like, I don't know, I guess they're fighting the big ships.
Yeah, but I don't know what the purpose of any of their actions was.
Yeah, it's similar to like the problem that was kind of faced in you haven't seen it, but the first Avengers movie. A swarm of bug aliens just kind of attacks like New York or whatever, and like there's just a bunch of random disconnected fights against all the different random faceless bugs, and that's like the climax of the movie. And the main thing is that up in Avengers Tower, Loki is there with the scepter that's causing all this, and that's the part that matters, but everything else is just random fighting up against random bugs. And that's what this one was, is like, that guy's fighting a TIE fighter, that guy's fighting this guy, those people just landed horses on the deck of that ship because they want to take out the ship, which I think it's the important ship, but I'm not sure. And then at some point Palpatine's like lightning all of them. And also they're like, oh no, we're all doomed, we're all gonna die, which is what we always say at the end of every movie. But no, actually, a fuck ton of ships are here. Too many ships are here. An ungodly number of ships are here.
I guess.
And then Palpatine's like,
Lando Calrissian called them all.
Which fuck, that's crazy that Lando's got that pull, because the Resistance didn't have that pull in the last movie, but Lando just got
where
your
were
back.
they the whole
Lando's
time?
the most powerful man in the universe.
We could have called everyone a lot earlier.
Lando is Commander Shepard from Mass Effect 3 and united the entire galaxy against the Empire off camera. But then it didn't matter because then in Palpatine, the moment those guys show up, it's just like, bzzz, and so they're all being shocked, like, oh no, we're being shocked, we're dying. And I'm like, oh wow, they're gonna kill Poe because he's falling to his death. But then he just stops shocking them a minute later, and they all just recover, and there was no consequences for that part. I don't think a single person died from him electrocuting the entire fleet. It just didn't matter.
Yeah, they don't show any deaths. Like nobody important dies, although it seems like the electricity literally affected every person in the entire sky.
Like, I guess,
but nobody was shown to die. So
I guess Resistance fighters are really well insulated.
Well, it showed like the ships.
It's like when a lightning bolt's supposed to hit your car and it just goes into the ground and it doesn't kill you inside of it.
I guess
because Poe's fine, and also BB-8 was fine, even though he's a droid, so he might explode. I don't know. There was no stakes. Nothing felt like it mattered.
No, nothing mattered.
And like,
because the whole point is like, if Palpatine exists still, no matter what anyone ever does, he's so overpowered that if he isn't dead, then evil will always reign regardless of if everyone in the sky above them dies. They could start all over again. Palpatine would just keep ruling because the whole point is that he'll exist forever and that nothing ever matters as if he's still alive.
And I think you'll agree.
So the whole bringing in the cool fleet was not really kind of unimpressive because they immediately pointed out how it wasn't going to change anything. Even if they killed everyone in the sky, Palpatine would still rule the whole universe. So it's like, what's the point? Yeah,
because he had a giant fleet of galaxies.
He'll keep living and he'll keep cloning people and keep being evil and manipulating people.
I think you'll agree because we both think that like the best storytelling is character driven. Develop characters to show us what they are, and then you can do anything if you're just developing characters well. The movie could be about practically anything, but the problem that Star Wars universe has right now is it's doing the Dragon Ball Z thing, escalation. Everything has to escalate over and over again. And what I loved about Last Jedi is it does not escalate. Things are not getting more powerful and more at most there's the big V-shaped ship that looks neat, but like there is another even more bigger super weapon this time. But like, because like this is the fourth time. Now we have two trilogies where the first and last part of both trilogies ends with an even bigger death machine than the last one. First we have the Death Star, then we have the Mega Ultra Deluxe Death Star that's so big they can't even finish building it. Then you have the Super Ultra Mega Deluxe Planet Death Star that's an entire planet that devours a sun to blow up multiple planets at the same time. Now you have an entire fleet of Star Destroyers that all have Death Star lasers on them, and there's so many of them you can't even count them. It's literally like a swarm that will end all of creation. And it's like you can't just keep going. Like, I know that we want to hype up Palpatine as being the biggest baddie ass guy ever, but like the moment where there's an entire fleet that will take out the entire universe and Palpatine can single-handedly electrocute any fleet with his bare hands and just kind of do anything, it's like this is only gonna get more cartoonish and excessive. And also like the fact like, oh, the villain from the last movie, he's got 2 spares in his tank, like that kind of shit. Like the escalation of power is so cartoonish. It's gonna end up like the extended universe of Star Wars, which was bad. I know people got mad when it became not canon. It was really bad. Did you know that Luke had a clone and it was named Luke with 2 U's? And that clone had a clone which was spelled Luke with 3 U's. This was canon back before Disney got rid of all the extended universe because it was bad. This was the kind of shit that was happening. Chewbacca got killed by a moon.
Who developed this canon? Who's writing this?
So back in the day, all those books that were being written about it were all considered canon.
Yeah, but who was writing them?
Hundreds of different writers.
Is it like considered canon in the same way that like people who do comic books consider it canon because you can basically take whatever you want and make your own canon? Is it like your own canon?
No, it was considered to be officially licensed canon. It was like real books.
George Lucas, you fuck up.
Yeah, no, he did more shit that you didn't even know about fucking. You know, there was an official canon book where Chewbacca is killed by a moon. They drop a moon on him to kill him. Which is kind of badass, but also
George Lucas,
stupid.
You fuck up.
It's so stupid. You
fuck up, George Lucas.
And so what Disney did...
Get your shit together. Care enough about your IPs.
Because Disney wants money.
Protect them from bullshit.
Because Disney wants money. What they did is they said that entire extended universe is no longer canon. Now it's called Star Wars Legends. They're all just legends. They're not canon anymore. So they could wipe the slate clean and just publish their own books, which is now what's happening. That they're just refilling that void with their own new canon of noise and mess. To the point where like there's a well-liked trilogy called the Thrawn trilogy from back then. And as I think I've heard they're making a new Thrawn trilogy in the new canon. And it's really frustrating because it's just, I'm like, I can't take this.
Keith, why'd you do this to me?
I can't tell you that this existed?
Any of this. I could just go.
Because you have to know.
Why?
You have to know.
I could just go on living my life.
I need to share this pain with somebody else that cares about movies in this house. Yeah.
That
was the scheme all along.
It's terrible.
Is that somebody else? I can talk to somebody else about this, about anything here. No,
I'm just heartbroken.
I'm of the opinion.
I'm just dead inside.
I'm of the opinion that nothing's canon. As far as like, if it's not in a movie, then it's just not canon. Period.
Well, that's kind of the problem I have with comic books.
Like it's
that they allow so many individual people to take on like the same IP.
For me, at most, it can be it can be like its own internally consistent side canon. That's its own universe that like is more of that feeling of the thing you like potentially, but it can't be canon. It just never is.
You could have Scooby-Doo, and you can have a pup named Scooby-Doo, and that's okay. But
yeah, the only reason
don't start like
the only reason
there's too many Scooby-Doos now.
Yes, there is. They only call it canon because there's certain nerds that will only buy it if they feel like it counts. It's not enough just to buy more Star Wars branded stuff that's fun. They have to be told that Star Wars stuff is also the real universe and matters. And that's so it increases the sales if you call it canon. But in reality, if any of the stuff written in any of those books becomes even slightly inconvenient to the script of the next movie, they will gladly throw it aside and make the movie massively contradict that book. And that's correct to do. The filmmakers are not wrong for not respecting the canon of some random side book somebody wrote that's not even one of the real movies. And anyone who gets on that stuff is like, they're silly. They're making they're watching things wrong. They're Star Warsing wrong. Like, I like Jedi power battles and a bunch of other video games and KOTOR, but like, if the movies contradict those things, I'm not like, oh no, how could you do that? Because it's like, no, that's all merchandise. Like, yeah. It's like, oh, you contradicted my art book I bought 20 years ago about Phantom Menace. It's like, so? They shouldn't be beholden to that. They should be beholden to what makes a good story.
What helps with that is if you have a creator that maybe like maintains their own ideas and maybe have one consistent writer or group of writers who like keeps the integrity of what you're making intact. And maybe if you allow spin-offs, you state that it's a spin-off, but you can be there as a shepherd for your own creations to make sure this shit doesn't happen to them.
So have you seen Dark Knight? The Joker movie. Yeah. The previous Joker movie with Heath Ledger. Mm-hmm. So one of my all-time favorite theater-going experiences, just funny moment that happened, is it was a packed theater, no remaining seats. There was a woman sitting next to me with a giant bucket of popcorn. And then that scene with the explosion happened where an important character dies. That bucket, she got so startled that bucket of popcorn flew 5 rows down, hit somebody in the back of the head, and they looked up like maybe at me. I couldn't tell because it was dark, and I was just like, look away. Just don't make eye contact. Like that kind of, like, you know, people react to stuff. Part of the fun of seeing a movie with people is that like the crowd reacts to things. They laugh at stuff in funny scenes. So I saw Last Jedi in a crowded theater. People kept laughing throughout the movie, and there were several scenes where people gasped. And like there was reactions to things, and that one movie, and especially like as a real power play on Rian Johnson's part, there's that one scene that cuts to no sound for the most evocative image of the entire movie. It cuts to no sound, and the effect of that is you can hear the entire theater react to that, and they do. The only reaction I heard this entire movie was that one guy snoring.
It could have been me.
And the toxic fan I was sitting next to. The guy kept fucking with his like, he kept trying to rebuckle his like weird Tupperware for his hot dog. He kept trying to close it and making tons of noise. I think you probably heard that too. And at one point, Rose goes on the screen. He's like, it's that bitch he said it's that Asian bitch that fucked everything up for everyone last movie. And I'm like, I have poor seating in this film. I don't want to be by this guy.
She didn't do anything wrong in the last movie.
It's because the toxic fans are mad at her for stopping Finn from sacrificing himself.
Yeah, but
even though the whole point was that sacrificing himself wasn't actually going to save the day anyway. Because that's the theme of the movie, but people don't watch movies, right? So they don't notice these things.
Yeah, but now Finn's alive, and he can be an active character who is ignored in this last movie.
But like all that happened the most was at the very end of the movie. There was like a tepid like
Luke came to save the day anyway.
There was like a polite applause for a minute at the end of the movie, kind of.
Yeah.
But aside from that, no reaction. There was no cheering, no laughing around me. I felt awkward because there was 2 times I actually laughed at something and like I heard nothing around me. I was like, I'm sorry. Like it was dead silent. It was the most soulless Star Wars screening I've ever seen. And like, that's just my surroundings. That's not my bias. That's the world around me not responding to the movie. And we had more laughs and Knives Out, the other Rian Johnson movie.
Sorry. No, that movie was hella funny. I like Knives Out a lot.
We need positivity, and we're not going to get it from the movie. So recommend some stuff. Just recommend things you've liked that are better than this movie lately.
Snowpiercer, which is an old movie, but I just saw it recently. I really, really, really liked it. It was super good.
Watch Knives Out. Watch Fleabag. I almost said Flea Piercer.
Watch Flea Piercer.
Watch Tuca and Birdie. You fucks. You got to cancel because you didn't watch it. So watch it now and feel bad that you got to cancel by not watching it. It's really good. We'll talk about that.
Do you think is that why it got canceled?
I assume it just didn't get watched enough.
I don't know if that's Netflix. I think is just petty, or they just. I don't know. I think they have their own weird.
My understanding is that
reasons.
Those people joined the Netflix union, so they're part of the Netflix's workforce now. So I don't think that they canceled it for the unionization.
But sometimes
because they're like official now or something.
A lot of companies will do this asshole thing where they cancel something to use those people for something else.
Oh yeah, maybe. Tuca and Birdie is really good though.
Yeah, Tuca and Birdie is really good.
Don't worry, it has a good ending. It works as a miniseries, so it's not the worst thing ever that it doesn't have another season. But I want more seasons.
Yeah, no, I watched
it on Amazon.
Yeah, I watched that one a long while ago, and I was happy to see that Keith was watching it too. But
and you watched Parasite and Lighthouse.
Yeah, that was a little bit ago. What else did I watch? Oh no, I just go back and watch old movies. The stuff I'm watching is not new because the last one I watched that I really got attached to was Young Adult. That's an older movie by Diablo Cody, who did Juno.
Read The End of the Fucking World and then maybe watch it.
Really, really good.
This is a good thing.
The show's okay. But I don't...
Mutual recommendation from both of us.
Yeah, I keep it... They're separate things to me in my brain.
Oh, yeah.
Not really
Well, related. You can't reconcile the fact that this is clearly like an American white trash novel and the show is English.
That was my immediate...
The show that was my English. That's rough.
Take on it, was that this is... It's made about neglected American trailer trash.
Maybe they're maybe they are trailer trash in England, but we don't recognize the accents or whatnot as being appropriate for that or something. Maybe English viewers are like, yeah, this makes sense.
Well, no, yeah, kind of, because you see where her dad is.
Yeah, because the settings are all correct. But
yeah, but there's something special.
We're not discerning enough and hearing those voices to be able to tell regions.
I really like watching anime or reading manga where they have a character who is a country bumpkin, but their accent doesn't translate because it's a different accent.
Yeah, so you have no idea what it is.
So they have to write it in a way that sounds like our version of a country bumpkin. So they make them say y'all and stuff, which is funny. I think it's interesting how that works. But
a version of that not translating for me was the very first episode of the Doctor Who reboot, which is now 10 seasons ago. The ninth Doctor shows up and he tells Rose that he is an alien, and he's like, she's like, if you're an alien, why do you sound like you're from the north? And he's like, all planets have a north. And it's a funny joke, but I don't know what a northern accent sounds like because they're all English, and I'm like, I don't know what a northern Englishman sounds like. I guess he sounds north. I don't know what that means.
It makes sense. Every place would have their own own sets of dialects,
Yeah, it's a funny joke, but I don't know that he sounds like he's from the north. I just have to be told that.
It's one of the things you'll probably never really understand, but it's a lot of things in the world like that.
I hope you guys enjoyed our longest episode so far. 3 hours basically. I didn't mean to necessarily, but we did this. I hope you guys thank you for coming with us on our therapy session, because this was cathartic.
I'm sorry.
Kind of.
I was very negative.
I swear, when I introduced you to this trilogy, I didn't know the third one was going to be this bad.
Keith bullied me.
I just really wanted somebody else to see Last Jedi.
Keith bullied me. Keith was a bully, and he's mean.
I really like Last Jedi.
I could have lived my peaceful life having never cared.
I think I'm just going to buy the Blu-ray for Last Jedi, and it's just going to survive. This movie
wouldn't have hurt me
as a standalone film without a trilogy around it. I'm just going to remember it that way.
I can't. I'm never going to watch these 3 movies, any single one of them ever again.
No. But Last Jedi is good. It was good.
You know what movie I'm also never going to watch again? Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Oh, we're going all the way back
Fucking
to
George Lucas. I swear, wherever you are,
like this could be so many things.
I'll find you. No, I'm not.
You didn't like your
But I am
helpful lesson
so
in
mad at
refrigerator
you.
safety?
Huh?
You didn't like your helpful lesson in refrigerator safety? And his kill total of 1 question mark?
I think it was...
Maybe he killed 1 guy, I'm not
I
sure.
think it was New Vegas, where when you're walking around, you can find the fridge, but it has
There's
a
a few
skeleton
games.
in it.
There's a few
Because the whole
games
joke
with
is that you would never fucking lived through that atomic blast.
And New Vegas is a nuke game.
Yes, it is.
About and it's supposed to be
It's one
bad.
of my favorite things.
Speaking of fucked up franchises.
I love it. Except, no, we're not going to talk about more things that break my heart.
Every
Because
franchise you love will grow to be horrible. You should hope that everything you ever love ends, so that it can't fuck up.
okay, I gotta go kill my dog then.
No more sequels. Stop making sequels, everybody. Just make standalone films forever. Sequels are bad. They only poison everything. Stop it.
Can I think of one that
If you want to make sequels, make a fucking show.
You know, okay, Keith, Keith, I thought of one that I like.
A sequel or a reboot?
No, a reboot. It's one of the only ones that's ever happened for me.
I've been told I might like Dark Crystal when I watch it, which I'm still afraid to do.
I'm also not watching that because I'm also scared because of
We'll have to watch it together.
problem that I have
We'll have to watch it together and hold hands in fear
and cry.
and eat way too much shit to compensate for that experience.
Mine is Evil Dead. I liked
Ash vs. the Evil Dead?
no, the movie.
Oh, they
I don't watch TV shows.
they remade Evil Dead.
It was good.
I forgot about that.
But the reason it was good is because it was completely different tone. It was actually a horror movie. It was no comedy
you should change
aspect
the shit
to it
out of
all.
stuff if you remake it. Otherwise, just watch the original.
Like I said, I was like talking about this on our Death Stranding playthrough about remakes of songs, where the only way to remake a song is to do it in a completely different style because you can't emulate what the original song was for people. So you shouldn't even try. You choose
That's
something
why
different.
Pixies cover albums are great, because none of them sound like the Pixies song for the entire
That's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, at Hollywood, please. I'm sad girl with the only thing I like is movies. It's the only things I love. Quit remaking all my shit. You're breaking my heart. Make me cry. I hate you. Yeah, that's all.
This is Peter.
Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. I need to go to bed.
Never make another Star Wars movie, but they will. So at least... But I don't want... Since they're definitely making more Star Wars movies, I'm just like... Can Rian Johnson to get that... Cause Once upon a time, this is like in
I'm not
flux.
gonna watch him.
It's really unclear whether it's happening or not at this point because of the backlash. But once upon a time, it was said that Rian Johnson was getting a trilogy of his own films. And it's like... That could have been really good. I still don't know if it's happening because it keeps sounding like it's canceled or not canceled or what. But also, I don't want that to happen because I want Rian Johnson just to make a bunch of movies. I want Knives Out and stuff like that. I just want new things, which is what Rian Johnson makes. Because he made Brick and Loop, much like Quentin Tarantino. You'll notice a lack of twos.
Yeah.
He just makes new things. And it's the same with Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright, Quentin Tarantino, and Rian Johnson just make new things. And that should be... That's better theaters. That's better cinema. That's better everything for the movie industry.
It's the right thing to do.
And Kill Bill doesn't count. That was one movie. It was just too long.
The only time it's okay is if you have a set idea and it's already planned and it's in 2 parts. Like Back to the Future is kind of like that for me because they kind of sorry. The third, there's a third one, but even the third one's passable because back then people knew how to make movies. But the first 2 are like they go hand in hand. So it's like, I don't know.
But also fuck sequels.
Stop. Please stop forever. Please stop. Please stop. Please. Please. All I know is that Keith, I think I'm done with Star Wars forever.
It's probably for the best.
Like if they make more, I think I'm done. That's so sad. This is like the saddest thing. Is that it's all over for me.
I mean, it's basically for the best just to stop watching everything made by Disney.
I can't do this again.
There's not a lot of upsides.
No. I didn't go see Frozen.
Hope you guys enjoyed the final Hope you guys enjoyed the final Disney movie in this entire series. We're gonna never talk about a Disney movie ever again. Maybe.
Probably not.
Unless they make Toy Story 5. Which they will. Oh no, and they're gonna ruin it. They're gonna ruin it all.
Well, I'm not doing that again either.
A Toy Story movie?
No, I think I'm done. I think, you know what?
I felt done with 3, and then 4 felt new done.
I just, you know what? I think I just realized, I think I might actually just be done with Disney now.
Yeah, no, they don't. Like, Marvel's not really worth it, and Star Wars doesn't seem worth it.
I have no attachment to Marvel.
There are now 5 new Star Wars movies, of which 3 are bad, 1's passable, and 1 is good.
The ratio is not worth.
That's not great. That's worse than the original ratio of 1 to 1, where every current timeline was good and every prequel is bad. Basically, they were even back then, and now it's like way worse than that.
I don't care about Marvel. Star Wars just broke my fucking heart. All they're doing is remakes of their old movies.
Yeah, the remakes are just embarrassing. I'm not gonna watch Mulan with no songs. The fuck?
It looks heartless.
If you're not gonna do I'll Make a Man Out of You, then why am I even showing up?
And I like how in the trailer they play the music. They play like the score of that in the background, and then he says, "I'm gonna make a man out of you," but they don't sing it
because they're cowards. Because China's like musicals.
Because no one cares about making art anymore.
Also, on the note of being fucking sick of remakes, this fucking thing where they take the original theme but they play it in a very slow and deliberate and somber way because it's reverent to do it that way. Even though the movies themselves weren't reverent the first time around, they're like fun movies. But now we got to be like up our own ass about how important these movies are. Fucking Top Gun trailer played, and it was like, dun,
not watching that.
Dun, dun,
I'm not watching that.
Dun, 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 dun. Like it's playing the song at like 1/4 speed and somber, like on a piano and shit. I'm like, fuck you. They did the same thing with the Ghostbusters remake. They played the Ghostbusters song, but like slow and dramatic because it's so like intense now, because like you've spent the last few decades idolizing this thing, so now we've got to like have a reverent cover of the theme, and it's like I don't want to watch a bunch of like self-important boring movies.
All I know
that's not what the originals were.
I have my handful of directors that are doing nice things, and when they make new movies I'll go out and see them because they haven't failed me and they aren't making remakes.
Yeah.
So all I can do is support my little people who aren't going to get big movie releases, and I'm just going to sit at home and watch those things by myself and be happy that I have something.
Quentin Tarantino.
Well, he's not an example of that, but yeah, I will still watch all his stuff.
Edgar Wright, Rian Johnson, Martin Scorsese.
I'm pretty bad at
what's the name of the guy that
director
did Parasite?
Names.
Did you know his name?
Bong Joon-ho.
Maybe. Oh no! Now everyone's gonna know.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm not good at director names.
Coen Brothers.
For me, I have the Coen Brothers, but his he's Korean. I don't remember his name. It's like Boon. What?
Anderson.
Wes Anderson.
Bo Burnham.
The guy that did Hereditary.
Bo Burnham, make another movie. 8th grade was really good.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, it's right there.
Well, I know I didn't think you watched it yet.
No, I watched it in theaters.
It was really good.
It's really good.
It was really good.
Watch it. It's really good.
Yeah, the Hereditary guy. The Hereditary guy.
Oh yeah, because you liked Midsommar.
Because I love him.
I'll have to watch both of those and then we can discuss them.
Oh my gosh. I'll go crazy.
See you guys next time. This video's too long. Goodbye.
Yeah, I need to go to bed. I'm sadly go to bed. Be sad. Bye.
It's 1 a.m.